When Shan Mao heard this, his eyes lit up instantly. Are we going to Wanshou City to sell soap tomorrow? Su Qianqian nodded. We're going to Wanshou City tomorrow, so let's sell soap together. You can call a few more friends and go together. Great. Bobcat jumped up happily, his tone showing his excitement and anticipation, but then he said with some worry, Our soap is a new thing. No one has used it before. Will anyone buy it? No problem, I have a way. Su Qianqian said with a smile, but before you go tomorrow, you have to prepare a few more things. What is it? Su Qianqian said, Find some dirty animal skins and... While Su Qianqian and Shan Mao were discussing what would be needed to sell soap tomorrow, Nan Wu cooked a pot of hot meat porridge in the kitchen and sent it to the Great Witch of West City. Shi Yuan was worried about Nan Wu going alone, so he followed him. Fortunately, just as Su Qianqian said, the Great Wizard of West City had been very well behaved. He lay in a room and did not go anywhere. When faced with the food sent by Nan Wu, he did not refuse and ate it without saying a word. He was indeed, as Nan Wu said, he hadn't eaten for several days. He had been hunted by 2 great witches from East City and South City for 5 whole days, and was also poisoned. In the end, he had no other choice but to deliberately come to the forest of 10,000 beasts. He made the right bet. The saint female is indeed not someone who would sit by and watch someone in need without helping. Shi Yuan and Nan Wu couldn't help shaking their heads as they watched the Great Wizard of West City wolfing down the food. Hey, do you think this Great Witch of West City will stay in our tribe in the future? Shi Yuan pulled Nan Wu aside and whispered. Nan Wu was stunned when he heard this. That shouldn't be the case. Why not? Shi Yuan lowered his voice and said, Look, our tribe has food and drink, and we have such comfortable houses to live in. If the witch can spend a few days comfortably here, he may not want to leave. Nan Wu, so, we can't be so nice to him. Shi Yuan said, when his injury is healed, he must be allowed to leave. Who asked him to help those city lords of Wanshou City bully Su Mu? But he is a rank 7 warrior, Nan Wu said worriedly. If he insists on staying here, we won't be able to defeat him. That seems to be true. Shi Yuan frowned and couldn't help but sigh. If only Mian Tian was here. With his strength, he would definitely be able to defeat this great wizard. Who do you think can beat me? The great witch's faint voice came from behind. The 2 people who were whispering behind their backs froze for a moment, then turned around and waved their hands frantically. No, I didn't say anything about anyone. The great wizard narrowed his eyes sharply. You said that person's name is Mian Tian? Nan Wu saw that the great wizard had heard everything they had just said, so he could only say, Well, great wizard, please don't mind it. We were just joking. That kid was just a slave picked up by the Sioux tribe leader. How could he possibly beat you? Yes. Shi Yuan next to him quickly said, That kid is only as big as a mountain cat, with a small body. Apart from his pretty face, there is nothing special about him. He is not as tall and mighty as you, Great Wizard. The Great Wizard looked at the 2 people who were trying their best to cover up their emotions, and rarely said a word. He drank the meat porridge in his bowl silently, and after a while of silence, he suddenly asked, What does the child look like? Seeing that the 2 were silent, he added, Don't worry, I have no ill will towards your tribe, but the same cannot be said for the man your chief picked up. How is it possible? Nan Wu immediately retorted, Mian Tian has lived in our tribe for such a long time, and he has never done anything to harm our tribe. He often goes up the mountain to help us hunt. Apart from his somewhat cold temper and his reluctance to talk to people in the tribe, there is nothing wrong with him at all. I hope you can still say that when you see his beast form. The great wizard laughed coldly. His beast form is just a snake, Shi Yuan said with a curled lip. Except for his eyes turning red, there's nothing to be afraid of. The great wizard narrowed his eyes slightly. Have you really seen his beast form? Shi Yuan felt a little guilty. In fact, he had never seen the beast form of Mian Tian, but that time in the forest of 10,000 beasts, when Mian Tian killed a 5th-level ferocious beast, he saw that Mian Tian's eyes had turned into vertical pupils, blood-red like beads, and were extremely terrifying. Thinking back on it now, he couldn't help but shiver. But he couldn't show weakness, so he could only stiffen his neck and say, "Of course I've seen Meon Tion in his beast form." His eyes will change into vertical pupils. It is 100% certain that he is a snake. The great wizard sneered. "If that's the case, then you must have seen the horns on his head." "What corner?" they asked in unison. The great wizard narrowed his eyes, and his tones suddenly became mysterious. "Have you heard of the legendary dragon clan?" "I've heard of it," Nan Wu immediately said. "When I was a child, I heard from the priests in my tribe that they were a very powerful and mysterious tribe of gods. They could ride on clouds and mist, and possess the power to call the wind and rain. But that's just a legend. There should be no such mysterious dragon race in our Beast World continent. After all, that thing is a legendary existence." "No. What does what you said have to do with Meon Tion?" Shi Yuan couldn't help but said. "No." The great wizard shook his head silently, and then said, "I just want to say that snakes don't grow horns on their heads." Neither of them understood what the great wizard meant and looked at him strangely. At this time, Shi Fong walked in. "What are you arguing about? I can hear your voices from far away outside." It's okay, just chatting casually." Shi Yuan waved his hand. "We are talking about the child brought back by your Sioux chief," the great witch said directly. "What happened to the child?" Shi Fong asked. "Nothing." The great wizard shook his head. He looked at Shi Fong intently, and his tone suddenly became mysterious again. "I just think that the person you described is very similar to the appearance of that adult when he was a child." Shi Yuan was stunned when he heard this. "Which, sir?" Nan Wu understood and couldn't help but widen his eyes. "Are you referring to the former lord of Wanshou City?" The great wizard nodded. "Oh my god. You've even seen him as a child?" Shi Yuan had a strange train of thought and couldn't help but exclaimed. "Then how old are you?" Great witch. No. Why are these people always focusing on something else? He gritted his teeth secretly, biting his back teeth, and said, "What are you thinking about?" "I'm only 200 years old." "What? You are only 200 years old?" Shi Yuan exclaimed again. He looked at the great wizard in front of him in disbelief, as if he could not believe that he was only 200 years old. In the beast world, the average lifespan of a normal beast man without superpowers is only 200 years. However, for beast men with superpowers, their lifespan can reach 500 years, or even 1,000 years. In other words, considering the level of his abilities and the age of only 200, it is not an exaggeration to say that the Great Wizard of West City is a leader among the young ones. Then, according to this statement, the city lord should not be very old. Shi Fong shook his head and sighed. It's such a pity that he died under the thunder at such a young age." He sighed, then turned around and handed the bowl in his hand to the witch, saying, "Shi Yuan and Nan Wu are not very good at talking. If there is any offense, please don't mind it. This is a delicious milk soup that Chief Su has just cooked. I thought you, the witch, have never tasted it, so I brought it for you to try." The great witch was very pleased with the respectful and polite attitude towards all directions. He took the bowl from Shi Fong leisurely and was about to drink when Shi Fong suddenly said, "Then we won't disturb you, Great Wizard, and we'll leave first." After saying that, he impatiently pulled Shi Yuan and Nan Wu out of the room. "Why are you leaving so quickly?" The Great Wizard was confused for a moment, but he didn't think much about it. He picked up the bowl in his hand, put it to his mouth, and drank it in one gulp. At this time, Shi Yuan, who had originally walked out of the room, poked his head back again, glanced at the bowl in his hand with a sly look on his face, and said meaningfully, "This is deer milk." Puff! The great witch almost spit out all the milk after taking a sip. The room, Shi Yuan's laughter could be heard. Only after they walked a long way did Shi Yuan's wild laughter finally stop. "Haha, you didn't see the great witch's expression when he found out that he was drinking deer milk, ha. His face turned blue, ha. I'm dying of laughter." He covered his stomach to hold back his laughter, while patting Nan Wu's shoulders wildly. When he turned around, he saw Shi Fong's solemn expression. "What's wrong, Shi Fong?" Shi Yuan's laughter stopped instantly. "Don't you think that what the Great Wizard said just now is trying to give us a hint of something?" Shi Fong said. "What are you trying to tell us?" Shi Yuan waved his hand nonchalantly. I think he just had nothing to do after eating, so he said it for fun. Shi Feng doesn't think so. He was outside just now and had heard clearly what the Great Witch said inside. The Great Witch always mentioned the beast form of Mian Tian. He also deliberately mentioned the former lord of Wanshou City. Is there any connection between these two? The more Shi Feng thought about it, the heavier his expression became, and a certain guess emerged in his mind. Time quickly came to the next day. Su Qianqian took Shan Mao, Shi Yuan, Nan Wu, and others to Wanshou City early in the morning. Wanshou City is not far from Wanshou Forest, but in order to shorten the travel time, Shi Yuan directly changed back into a beast form and let everyone sit on his back to travel. Before the sun rose, the few of them finally arrived at Wanshou City. They entered from the West City Gate. The first time he came, there were 2 orc warriors holding stone spears guarding the city gate, and dozens of orc warriors standing next to them, as if welcoming something, standing in 2 neat rows. As Su Qianqian walked over, a group of orc warriors suddenly put down their stone spears and knelt on the ground when they saw her. Welcome to the Holy Female. A group of orcs crawled on the ground and shouted in unison. The sound was earth-shaking and deafening like thunder. Su Qianqian was so frightened by this sudden action that she retracted her foot. What are you doing? The Lord of West City has ordered that as soon as the Holy Female enters the city, we must welcome her with the highest standards of etiquette. Everyone answered in unison, like well-trained soldiers, with expressions of great respect on their faces. Su Qianqian. This guy in Shua, is he deliberately making trouble for her? Hurry up and get up. I won't have to make such a big scene when I come to Wanshou City next time. It made her feel awkward. After hearing what Su Qianqian said, the orcs who were kneeling at the city gate stood up one after another, but they still didn't dare to straighten their backs. Instead, they bent over respectfully and welcomed her in. May I ask what business the Saint Female has in coming to the City of Beasts today? Is there anything we can do for you? Several orc warriors followed Su Qianqian, nodding and bowing, their tones extremely flattering. No need. Su Qianqian kept walking and said expressionlessly, You guys go do your own things. I don't need your help here. Okay. Several orc warriors nodded quickly and finally stopped following Su Qianqian. But as soon as Su Qianqian walked away, the orc warrior immediately ordered the people next to him, Hurry back and report to the city lord that the Holy Female has finally entered the city. Yes. A group of people rushed towards the main city of West City, without stopping. Su Qianqian thought that without that group of powerful orc warriors following her, she would be able to find a good place to sell soap, but she didn't expect that as soon as she entered the city, she attracted the attention of the entire Wanshou City. It wasn't just the West City. As soon as they heard that the Holy Female had come to the City of Beasts, almost all the orcs in the East City, North City, South City, rushed over. Not long after Su Qianqian entered the city, she was surrounded by orcs who had rushed over after hearing the noise. Oh my God! That's the Holy Female. I didn't see her at the sacrificial ceremony last time, but I finally have the chance to see her this time. As they said, the saint is so beautiful. Oh my God, I never thought I would be able to see the legendary Holy Female in my lifetime. I am so lucky. It's worth my 2 months of hard work to come to the City of All Beasts to see the true face of this legendary Holy Female. Among these onlookers, some did not live in the City of 10,000 Beasts, but were from small tribes on the Beast World continent. Ever since she exposed the conspiracy of the Red Fox Saint and several city lords at the sacrificial assembly, the saint's reputation has spread far and wide, almost throughout the entire beast world. Many orcs have spared no effort to come here to see her. By such a large crowd, even though Su Qianqian had been prepared for a long time, she could hardly resist at this moment. She quickly took out a hat from her storage ring and put it on her head. The veil hanging from the bottom of the hat finally blocked the hundreds of eyes and gazes that were constantly staring at her. She let out a long sigh. Although these beastmen who came to watch had no ill intentions, it still made people feel very uncomfortable to be constantly stared at as if they were some rare and endangered animals in the zoo. Shi Yuan and Nan Wu hurried forward to protect Su Qianqian behind them. Shan Mao and several of his friends also surrounded Su Qianqian on the left and right, like they were protecting their cubs. Su Qianqian had no choice but to say, "I'm fine. Don't worry. Take out the soap quickly while there are so many people here." The mountain cats and their companions nodded and took off the birch bark baskets on their backs. Inside were neatly stacked birch bark boxes, each containing 10 bars of soap. Bobcat opened one of the boxes, a faint fragrance dissipated, and the restless crowd instantly quieted down. "Hey, what's that smell? It smells so good. I smell something like purple vanilla." A moment, everyone's eyes fell on the box in Bobcat's hand. Shi Yuan took the opportunity to shout loudly, "Don't miss it if you pass by. Everyone stop and take a look. This is a magical thing that our 10,000 Beasts tribe has just developed. It's called soap. It can be used to wash hands, take a bath, wash clothes. It can wash away all stains in the world. I guarantee you will become fragrant and clean after washing." Shi Yuan picked up a piece of soap in the mountain cat's hand and boasted without reservation. "Is this true? It can wash away all stains in the world. Is this thing really so magical?" Everyone looked at the soap in Bobcat's hand and expressed doubts. "It's such a small thing. It looks white and clean and smells nice, but can it really wash anything?" Facing everyone's doubts, Su Qianqian winked at Shan Mao. The mountain cat immediately understood and took out several pieces of animal skins that he had prepared yesterday. Some of these pieces of animal skin were covered in blood, some were covered in mud, and some were the rags that Shifeng usually used for cooking and were covered in oil. In short, they looked extremely dirty. Su Qianqian laid out a few dirty animal hides in a row and said, "If you don't believe me, you can come up and try washing these hides with the soap we provide." Everyone originally disliked the dirty animal skins and were unwilling to try them themselves, but as soon as Su Qianqian opened her mouth, everyone seemed to have taken stimulants and raised their hands to come up and try. "I'll do it. I'll do it. I'm willing to try. Choose me. I am willing to do any dirty or strenuous work, and washing these animal skins is no problem at all. Choose me." They would be happy if they could get close to the holy female, even if they had to eat the dirty animal skin. Facing such enthusiastic orcs, Su Qianqian was helpless. In the end, she chose 2 female and 1 male orcs to come up. 3 orcs quickly grabbed a piece of animal skin, and the mountain cat kindly handed each of them a piece of soap. Su Qianqian said, "First, wet the soap and animal hide with water, then rub the soap gently on the animal hide until bubbles form." The 3 of them immediately did as Su Qianqian said, not daring to slack off at all. After a while, a layer of dense and rich foam was rubbed out on the animal skin, and under the cleansing effect of the foam, the stains on the animal skin were gradually rubbed off. Came up to wash the animal skins didn't take it seriously at first, but when they saw this magical scene, they couldn't help but widen their eyes. The stains on this animal hide can actually be washed off? These are the most difficult oil and blood stains to wash off. You have to know that in the beast world, the orcs have almost no cleaning supplies. If there are stains on their clothes, they can just wash them in water. If the stains are easy to clean, it's okay, but for stains like oil and blood that are extremely difficult to clean, they can only let the stains stay on them, or just throw away the clothes. If these 3 people had not come up to try it themselves and could not fake it, the orcs present would have been unable to help but wonder if this was an illusion created by some kind of supernatural power. "Oh my god, this soap is amazing. It can even clean such dirty animal skins. Look, even their hands for washing the hides have become clean." Everyone then looked at the 3 orcs washing the animal hides, especially the male orc, whose hands were most noticeable. The male orc often did a lot of work. The stains on his hands had almost seeped into his calluses, and even the gaps between his nails were black. But now when everyone looked at his hands, they found that not only had they become cleaner, but even the stains that had accumulated in the crevices of his nails over the years had been washed away. "It's simply amazing." Su Qianqian looked at everyone's shocked expressions and smiled. "This soap can not only be used to wash clothes, but it can also effectively clean the body and hair. You might as well buy one and try it." bathing and washing hair here. After all, it's not very convenient. How much do you sell this soap? Everyone asked. Su Qianqian thought for a moment and said, "One first level beast crystal can buy 2 bars of this unscented soap. The purple vanilla scented soap and deer milk soap are a little more expensive, and 1 first level beast crystal is required to buy 1 bar." This was the price she decided after careful consideration last night. Soap is not a necessity like sea crystal sand, so its price cannot be as expensive as sea crystal sand, but it cannot be too cheap either. The unscented soap has nothing added to it. It is easy to make and does not require any materials, so it is the cheapest. You can buy 2 pieces with 1 first-level beast crystal. As for lavender-scented soap and deer milk soap, both require a lot of manpower to collect the products to make, so they are slightly more expensive. Who can settle in Wanshou City are not poor orcs, and this price will not be too difficult for them to accept. But some orcs still didn't understand and asked, "I don't think there's anything special about this purple vanilla and deer milk soap, so why are they so expensive?" Su Qianqian explained, "Clothes washed with purple vanilla-scented soap will leave a light fragrance, and this deer milk soap can moisturize the skin when used for washing hands and bathing." When everyone heard this, they became even more excited and hurriedly said, "Give me a bar of deer milk soap. I want 2 bars of purple vanilla soap. I want $5." People lined up in long queues, and the entire street was packed with people. These people are much richer than Su Qianqian imagined. They start by offering 5 or 6 bars of soap. While everyone was queuing up to buy soap, Su Qianqian quietly left the crowd. She strolled around Wanshou City casually. Since she was wearing a hat, no one recognized her identity when she walked on the street. Of course, another reason was that most of the orcs were attracted to line up to buy soap, and there were only a few orcs on the streets. After walking around for a few times, Su Qianqian found that the current Wanshou City was not much different from the previous Wanshou City, and everyone seemed to be unaffected by the last sacrificial meeting. She randomly found a few orcs on the street and asked them about the current situation of the 4 city lords, only to find out that all this was due to Shijue. Ever since the conspiracy of the Red Fox clan saint and those city lords was exposed, the status and credibility of the city lords in the hearts of the residents of Wanshou City have plummeted. Several city lords did not care about the residents of Wanshou City at all, and began to unite with some orc families to amass wealth and fight for territory, just to grab the position of the city lord of Wanshou City. Wanshou City were suffering terribly. Later, Shijue returned to Wanshou City and re-governed the entire West City. He drove out all the orc families who had come to Wanshou City specifically to collect property and seize territory. Only then did the situation get better. But it is second only to this place in Xiqing. Shijue only has the right to manage West City, and the other 3 cities are still in chaos. As a result, those powerless orc families moved to the West City area, and more orcs chose to join Shijue. This action made the other 3 city lords angry and anxious, for they were afraid that the entire Wanshou City would fall into Shijue's hands. By then, the people would support him, and he would become the new city lord of Wanshou City. The 3 city lords had no choice but to stop there and manage the relationships between the major beast tribes in Wanshou City to win over forces for themselves, and Wanshou City became stable again. But for some reason, Shijue and Inshua suddenly had a quarrel, and Shijue left Wanshou City in anger. It was said that he returned to the tribe where the Silver Eagle family was. As soon as Shijue left, the 3 city lords immediately revealed their true colors. The Lord of East City used some unknown method to quickly win over the lords of North City and South City, and took the position of the Grand Lord of the city. After that, several city lords sent out great wizards to hunt down the Great Wizard of West City. After sorting out the whole story, Su Qianqian just felt a headache. Is Inshua okay? Why did he make Shiju angry and leave for no reason, and put himself in a crisis and dilemma? No. She has to go find Inshua and ask him about it. After thinking about it, Su Qianqian was about to turn around and walk towards the main city of West City when a figure suddenly rushed out from the angle, holding an extremely sharp bone blade in his hand and stabbed straight at her. Su Qianqian's eyes flashed, and she instantly threw out an icicle from her hand, knocking the stabbing bone blade away. The person who was attacking with the bone blade was also knocked to the ground by this force. The Saint of the Red Fox Clan? Su Qianqian was slightly stunned when she saw the person falling to the ground. No. Why is this person still in Wanshou City? She and several city lords colluded to deceive the residents of Wanshou City, and no one actually drove her out of Wanshou City. However, the Red Fox Saint who was sitting on the ground at this moment stared at Su Qianqian with hatred on her face. It's all you. This is all your fault. If it weren't for you, everything I planned wouldn't have failed, and the lord of the city wouldn't have been struck by lightning. She roared at the top of her lungs, completely ignoring the pain in her hands, and wanted to pick up the bone blade on the ground and stab Su Qianqian again. But the next second, a silver-gray feather arrow flew over and pierced the palm of the Fox Saint. Ah! The heart-wrenching screams almost echoed throughout the entire Wanshou City. The Red Fox Saint's entire palm was nailed firmly to the ground by the silver-gray feather arrow, and it was bleeding, and the scene was horrific. Then, dozens of orc warriors suddenly rushed out, each holding a sharp stone spear, aiming at the Red Fox Saint. The Red Fox Saint was shocked and frightened. She pointed at Su Qianqian with her other intact hand and said viciously, "Shouldn't you arrest her? She was the one who hurt me first. I'll start first?" Su Qianqian couldn't help but sneer when she heard that. "Do you really think that others are as blind as you?" She walked forward, glanced at the silver-gray feather arrow that pierced the palm of the Red Fox Saint, and turned her head to ask the orc warrior next to her, "Where is your city lord?" The orc pointed respectfully in a distant direction and said, "My lord is waiting for you there." Su Qianqian looked in the direction where it came from. It was an ordinary cave on the street, plain and unremarkable. But after Su Qianqian saw the appearance of the cave clearly, the tips of her ears turned red uncontrollably. She remembered the cave. They were being hunted by the great wizard of West City, In Shua, and she hid in that cave. He pressed her down on the bed, and she tried to deceive Duo Luo with her panting, but she failed in the end. Su Qianqian suppressed the heat on her face, coughed lightly, and said, "I will go find him now. As for this saint, what do you want to do with her?" As she spoke, she glanced at the Red Fox Saint's eyes that were filled with hatred for her. Why did this guy hate her so much? It was clearly her who had deceived the residents of 10,000 Beast City and wanted to use slaves for sacrifice. She had done something wrong, but she was blaming others. Lord Inshua said that this person will be useful, if kept. The orc warrior answered Su Qianqian's question respectfully. "Is it still useful?" Su Qianqian was stunned when she heard that. "What's the use? What on earth is this guy Inshua doing?" The orc warriors did not answer Su Qianqian's words, nor did they dare to stay for too long. Instead, they grabbed the Red Fox Saint on the ground and retreated quickly. Su Qianqian frowned and could only walk towards the cave. There were few orcs on the streets now, and Su Qianqian arrived at the cave smoothly. The entrance of the cave, and you can't see clearly inside. Su Qianqian could only shout softly, "Hey, Inshua, are you in there?" She uttered the voice. The stone door of the cave slowly moved open. Su Qianqian walked in, slowly closed behind her. She subconsciously looked back, but the next second, she was pressed against the wall. His hot chest pressed against her back, and the man's low and suppressed voice rang close to her ear. "Qianqian, I miss you so much." Inshua. Su Qianqian was pressed against the wall by her, unable to move. She could only turn her head slightly to look at him. "Let me go first. Let's talk about what happened recently. Why did you?" Before she could finish her words, the man suddenly grabbed her chin and gave her a hot and passionate kiss. The man's actions were cruel and extremely forceful, as if he wanted to pour out all the longing he had accumulated over the past few months. Su Qianqian whimpered from such a strong kiss, and tears welled up in her eyes. A moment, the only sound in the entire cave was suppressed gasps. Soon, Su Qianqian's legs became so weak that she could hardly stand and slid down the wall. Inshua picked her up and held her up on the stone table next to him. Su Qianqian was finally able to catch her breath, and she took deep gulps of the hard-earned fresh air. However, before she could catch her breath, her tightly closed thighs were forced apart, and the man came close to her. Su Qianqian's heart suddenly became alarmed, and she subconsciously shrank back. This position is not very safe. In Shua smiled and leaned over. What are you afraid of? I won't eat you. His voice was hoarse and sexy, with a full teasing smile. He raised his slender fingers and gently wiped away the remaining water stains on Su Qianqian's lips. Su Qianqian was embarrassed and annoyed. She turned her head away and slapped his hand away. You haven't answered my previous question yet. What do you want to ask? In Shua asked with a chuckle, and his fingers touched her face again, stroking it gently and lovingly. Su Qianqian sighed. This guy didn't listen to her at all. She looked around the cave and couldn't help but wonder. Have you always lived here? The entire cave was decorated gorgeously and luxuriously. The walls were inlaid with various gems and pearls, sparkling with a warm light. The cave was also cleaned meticulously, and it was nothing like when she first came here. The only thing that remained unchanged was the stone bed. And that animal skin mattress. When Su Qianqian saw the familiar animal skin mattress, the tips of her ears couldn't help but turn slightly red, and those secret and ambiguous images once again flooded into her mind uncontrollably. Yes, In Shua lowered his eyes and looked at the shy girl. He leaned over slightly and brushed her earlobe with his lips, which was ambiguous and hot. Because there is your scent here. I sleep here every night. That bed has your scent and smell. I fall asleep every night smelling your scent, and it feels like you're always by my side. Okay, stop talking. Su Qianqian quickly covered his mouth, fearing that he would say something unspeakable again. Is there anything else you want to ask? In Shua looked at the girl in front of him, his eyes moving from her eyebrows to her lips. Of course I have a lot of things to ask you. Su Qianqian said quickly. What happened between you and Lord Shijue? Why did you quarrel? Why did he leave Wanshou City? Are you planning something? The rosy and plump lips opened and closed, and she kept talking, but In Shua couldn't hear a word she said. He looked at the girl's lips and finally couldn't control himself and leaned over to kiss her again. Su Qianqian's voice was blocked by him halfway through her words. What are you doing? Didn't you just? She struggled to push him away, but In Shua pressed the back of her head with one hand and twisted her wrists behind her head with the other hand, pressing her down on the table. Their lips met again, entwined. I just let you catch your breath. It's not over yet. Hadn't seen each other for several months, started to demand without any restraint. Su Qianqian was kissed so hard that her head was dizzy and her lips and tongue were numb. In the end, she just let him go. When he has kissed me enough, he will let me go. This is what Su Qianqian thought. But obviously she was wrong. When she was finally able to catch her breath again, In Shua picked her up and walked straight towards the stone bed. Su Qianqian was anxious, hugged his neck tightly, and asked, In Shua, what are you going to do? In Shua seemed to know the girl's nervousness, and he smiled and comforted her. Don't worry, I won't touch you before we become a couple. Su Qianqian heaved a sigh of relief after hearing this, and was immediately placed on the bed by him. In Shua followed and lay down on top of her. He pulled the animal skin mattress next to him and covered them both with it. He pressed tightly against her and said word by word, So, let's get married. Su Qianqian was stunned for a moment and subconsciously turned over and sat up. In Shua grabbed her wrist, pulled her into his arms again, hugged her tightly, and said, After we become a couple, we can always be together and no one will ever separate us. His slender fingers gently stroked her hair. The momentary tenderness was so tempting that he was reluctant to let go and wanted to hold her tightly by his side for the rest of his life. In Shua, Su Qianqian pursed her lips and said, I don't want to be together. She still had a lot of things to do, such as matters concerning the tribe of 10,000 beasts and the plain trading system. If she got married, she would definitely be trapped in a small cave, waiting for her husband to come back every day, waiting for their support, waiting to give birth to cubs for them. Just like in the modern world, she would become a complete housewife. She didn't want to become like that. However, Inshua seemed not to have heard her refusal. He stroked her hair again and again, with a look of nostalgia and tenderness, and said slowly, "What do you think of this cave? Let's use it as our bridal chamber for our first night together." His voice was tender, yet contained a hint of unquestionable force. Su Qianqian lowered her eyes and said nothing. Inshua is still the same Inshua, the Inshua who imprisoned him, the Inshua who forced her to do things she didn't want to do. He has never changed. She let out a long breath, then raised her head again and said seriously, "Inshua, why are you and Lord Shijua arguing?" Inshua twisted a strand of her hair in his hand, his handsome features smiling. "Qianqian, if I take the position of Lord of Wanshou City, you can stay by my side forever, right? No one will take you away from me." Su Qianqian heard this and said word by word, "I won't be taken away by anyone, including you." After saying that, she waved away Inshua's hand and climbed up from the bed. This time Inshua did not stop her. He silently watched her get off the bed and walk towards the cave entrance without looking back. After leaving the cave, as expected, there were several orc warriors guarding outside, all of them with their heads lowered and expressions of utmost respect. Su Qianqian only glanced at them and said, "Where is the saint of the Red Fox clan? I want to meet her." Several orc warriors still lowered their heads and spoke carefully. "I'm sorry. Saint Female Lady, Lord Inshua has ordered that the person is a criminal and has been imprisoned. She cannot meet with outsiders in private." Su Qianqian. If he was a criminal, why did he run to the street and stab her just now? She glanced at the trembling faces of several orc warriors and guessed that they probably didn't want to tell the truth. It seems that Inshua must be hiding something from me. But since he didn't want to say it, she didn't need to ask any further. Su Qianqian strode away from here. Soon as she left, Inshua came out of the cave. When several orc warriors saw him, they lowered their heads in even greater fear, not daring to make a sound. His face was grim, but there was a hint of smile on the corner of his mouth. "Soon. Just wait for me for a few more days and I'll be able to sit in that seat." Su Qianqian went all the way back to the place where Shan Mao and his friends sold soap. At this moment, the queue had dispersed, the crowd of onlookers had also dispersed, and Bobcat and his companions were waiting for her to come back, holding a small birch bark box. Su Qianqian walked over, looked at their empty boxes and baskets in confusion, and asked, "Have you sold out of soap?" Bobcat nodded excitedly. "All sold out." He quickly handed the small birch bark box in his hand to Su Qianqian. Su Qianqian looked down and saw that it was full of animal crystals. She smiled and said, "So many?" "Yes." The mountain cat nodded repeatedly. "Our soap is very popular in the City of Beasts. Many orcs who were lining up didn't get their hands on it. They even asked us when we would sell it next time so they could come and line up early. Wanshou City. Compared with them, these 100 bars of soap are still too few." They were sold out not long after Su Qianqian left, and many orcs were unable to buy any. Su Qianqian smiled and said, "Then let's increase the manpower and increase the production of soap when we get back." "Hey, Sumo." Shi Yuan suddenly came forward and asked in a low voice, "Did you go to see Inshua just now?" "Yeah." "But I see you don't look very happy. Did he bully you?" "No." Su Qianqian shook her head, then let out a sigh of relief and said, "He is probably no longer one of us. Let's just go our separate ways from now on." He became the lord of his city of beasts, and she continued to build her tribe of beasts. From now on, just live in peace with each other. After saying that, she asked Shan Mao and the others to pack up their things and prepare to leave Wanshou City. Shi Yuan and his companions originally wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to come to Wanshou City to find Inshua to reminisce about the past, but after hearing what Su Qianqian said, they had no choice but to give up. Several people left Wanshou City together. As soon as she returned to the tribe, Su Qianqian went straight to see the Great Witch of West City. "Tell me, what are you and Inshua doing behind my back?" As soon as she entered the room, Su Qianqian asked this question directly. The Great Wizard of West City was sitting on the bed at this moment, holding the bowl of unfinished deer milk in his hand, savoring it with relish, when Su Qianqian suddenly broke in without knocking and caught him off guard by choking. Ahem. It's nothing. What could we possibly do? The great wizard covered his mouth and coughed violently a few times, saying, "That guy instigated a few city lords to hunt me down. I haven't even taken revenge on him yet. How could I possibly go along with him and mess things up?" Su Qianqian narrowed her eyes. Really? Really? Facing Su Qianqian's insightful gaze, the Great Witch of West City looked away a little unnaturally and passed the bowl in his hand to Su Qianqian as if to change the subject. "It tastes good. Can I have another bowl?" Su Qianqian glanced at the bowl of deer milk, then looked away and fixedly looked at the Great Witch in front of her, saying word by word, "He really knows my character well and made you come to me on purpose." After saying that, she grabbed the bowl from the witch's hand and left the room without looking back. When I came out of the room, I saw Shifeng waiting outside. Su Qianqian took a step forward and handed him the bowl. "Give that guy another bowl." Shifeng took the bowl, frowned, and said, "Are you also beginning to doubt his intention of coming to our tribe?" Su Qianqian glanced at him, seeming a little surprised. "Have you already suspected him? How could it be such a coincidence that you just left the tribe and happened to see him being chased?" Shifeng shook his head with a wry smile. "That's true." Su Qianqian stroked her chin and pondered carefully. "It feels like everything is planned." "Shifeng, what do you think?" Shifeng said, "I guess the Great Witch was being hunted down on purpose and came to our 10,000 beast tribe on purpose. As for who gave the order for all this, it should be no one else except Shua." Su Qianqian looked back at the room behind her and thought, why would he do this? Letting the great wizard leave the city of beasts would mean cutting off his own retreat, wouldn't it? Perhaps, Shifeng said, this is just a means to confuse the three city lords. Su Qianqian fell silent after hearing this. This guy Shua must be brewing some big conspiracy behind the scenes.
Night.
Su Qianqian returned to the room. As soon as I entered the room, I saw 2 birch bark boxes neatly placed on the table. The box was filled to the brim with first-level beast crystals, which glowed as warm as jade under the moonlight coming in from the window. Su Qianqian walked forward and took a look. These were all animal crystals used to sell soap during the day, which were delivered to her room by Bobcat in advance. She counted them and found there were nearly 80 beast crystals. 100 bars of soap were sold for nearly 80 beast crystals, which is a good profit. In the past, so many beast crystals would definitely be a huge asset, but in Su Qianqian's eyes, they are not as valuable as a third-level beast crystal. Therefore, she did not plan to sell these beast crystals to the trading system, but wanted to keep them and use them as expenses for the tribe. As the tribe grows bigger, it will definitely attract a lot of unfriendly attention. It is time to improve the strength of the tribe. The next day, Su Qianqian then called over several people from all over the place. She distributed 10 beast crystals to each person and said, "You can put aside the things you are doing recently and focus on improving your strength." Shifeng, Xiyuan, and Nanwo are the only orcs with supernatural powers in the tribe, and their strength represents the strength of the tribe. The tribe needs more orcs with powerful superpowers. Are all these beast crystals really used to enhance our abilities? Nanwu held the beast crystals in his hands with excitement, his eyes full of disbelief. The beast crystals they earned in Wanshou City before were very few, just enough to make a living and pay for accommodation, and they were reluctant to use them to improve their supernatural powers. Su Qianqian nodded and said, "You can use these beast crystals to improve your abilities, especially you, Nanwu. Your abilities are only at the first level, so you need to work harder than them." "Well, okay, I'll try my best." Nanwu nodded hurriedly, his face flushed with excitement. His supernatural power has been stuck at the first level for many years, and he has had no chance or resources to improve it. Now in the 10,000 Beast tribe, where he has food and drink and no shortage of resources, he will definitely be able to break through to the second level. Compared to Nanwu's excitement, Yuan seemed much calmer. He picked up a beast crystal and threw it into his mouth, chewing it with a crunching sound. While chewing, he said, "Don't worry, Su Mu. As long as we have these beast crystals, it will be easy to improve our abilities. Su Qianqian couldn't help but feel a headache on her forehead when she saw him chewing the beast crystal like that. He just chews like this without drinking water? Doesn't his teeth hurt? Su Qianqian glanced at it for a few seconds and then quietly looked away. Forget it. After all, she was not an orc and did not understand the structure of orcs' teeth. Oh, by the way, Chief Su, Nan Wu suddenly said, do you still remember the red fox saint who deceived everyone at the sacrificial ceremony? Su Qianqian was stunned when he suddenly mentioned this person. What's wrong with her? After you left yesterday, we heard something from the orcs who bought soap. Nan Wu said, since she was exposed as a fake saint, the orcs of the Red Fox clan abandoned her and returned to the Red Fox tribe, leaving her alone in the city of all beasts. She was a female, helpless in the city of beasts, without food or shelter. She almost couldn't survive. Then, for some reason, she suddenly got involved with the city lords of the city of beasts. At this point, Nan Wu's face turned awkward. She seems to be very popular with those city lords. She is summoned by them every day and hangs out with them in the city lord's cave every day. When Su Qianqian heard this, she couldn't help but fall silent. To be honest, she wasn't really surprised that the Red Fox Saint would end up like this. After all, without the saintly halo, she was just an ordinary female who wasn't bad-looking. If she wanted to stay alive in the city of beasts, she could only rely on a more powerful force. Relying on those city lords is always better than relying on ordinary orcs. No way, those city lords are so old. How could she have the heart to eat them? Shi Yuan chewed the beast crystal and said with a tut, Hey, you thinking Shoa didn't come back to the 10,000 beast tribe to see us? Couldn't he have been deceived by the Red Fox Saint? He said this, several people rolled their eyes at him. Nan Wu even kicked him mercilessly and cursed, I think you are itching for trouble again. Is Yin Shoa that kind of person? Don't talk nonsense. After scolding Shi Yuan, he quickly turned around to comfort Su Qianqian, saying, Sumu, don't listen to his nonsense. Yin Shoa must have his reasons for not returning to the tribe. He must miss you very much and will not fall in love with someone else. Su Qianqian helplessly spread her hands and shook her head. He won't fall in love with anyone else, but he likes that position, which is enough. After that, she didn't say another word, but took the remaining half-box of beast crystals to find the mountain cat, leaving a few people with confused faces. What does she mean? Nan Wu and Shi Yuan looked at each other. Could it be that Yin Shoa has really fallen in love with someone else? Don't think too much, you two. Just improve your abilities as soon as possible. Shi Fang patted their shoulders and left. What? You're all telling riddles, and you don't make your words clear. Shi Yuan curled his lips, threw another beast crystal into his mouth, and started chewing it. Mian Tian is still the best. If that guy is unhappy, he will just beat him up. Hey, Mian Tian, when will you come back? Previously, Shi Yuan was still wondering when Huyang would come back, but now he started wondering when Mian Tian would come back. He's only been gone for 2 days. He probably hasn't reached the Misty Forest yet. Nan Wu shook his head. He actually missed Mian Tian a little, but he definitely wouldn't be able to come back for another 2 or 3 months. The two of them were sighing here, but they didn't know that Mian Tian in the Misty Forest had already gone bloodthirsty. In the past 2 days, all the ferocious beasts and wild animals in the Misty Forest knew that a new plague god had come to the Misty Forest. He killed any ferocious beast he caught, no matter if it was a first dash, second dash, third or fourth level beast. Almost none of them escaped. Originally peaceful Misty Forest almost became a purgatory because of this person's arrival. The high-level beasts in the Misty Forest can only cower in fear in their territories, not daring to come out. The low-level beasts that have no territory are either on the run or on the way to escape every day. The sky. He waved his hand expressionlessly and threw out a ball of dark blue flame. The flame was like liquid, and it burst into flames once it touched the corpses on the ground. The firelight almost illuminated most of the Misty Forest. The corpse was burned to ashes, leaving animal crystals all over the ground. Mian Tian would collect all these animal crystals, go to the river, and wash them carefully one by one without leaving a trace of blood. He hated the smell and taste of blood. Therefore, even if it was a gift for her, he didn't want it to be stained with blood. After washing the animal crystals, Mian Tian will put them into a box and keep them well. He looked up at the misty forest in the distance. 3 months was still too long. He had only been gone for 2 days, and he already missed her. Very, very much. Want to see her. My mind is filled with her figure and her appearance. Mian Tian was almost exhausted by the longing, and he distracted himself by killing the ferocious beasts in the misty forest every day. He wanted to go back and see her. But no. If I go back now, my identity and strength will be completely hidden. He could only try his best to control himself every day and not think about her. At the same time, Su Qianqian from the 10,000 Beasts tribe was discussing the construction of a soap workshop with Shan Mao and others. She drew a sketch with charcoal on straw paper and handed it to several orcs in the tribe. It's probably like this. For now, we just need to build 2 soap workshops, one for processing soap nuts and one for making soap. We also need to build a few stoves in the house and put a few big pots there to stir-fry the soap nuts. Su Qianqian talked a lot, and the orcs were half confused and half puzzled, but they still nodded and went to work. Even if some of them didn't understand what Su Qianqian was talking about the soap workshop, they would still do as Su Qianqian said. They have complete trust in Su Qianqian. Even if Su Qianqian asked them to build something useless, they would do it willingly. Su Qianqian deliberately kept Shan Mao, handed him most of the box of beast crystals in her hand, and said, "You keep these beast crystals first, and I will pay everyone later." What wages? Bobcat didn't understand. Su Qianqian continued, "Every day you go up the mountain to collect soapberry trees, grind them with a stone mill, and then process them step by step. All of this requires manpower, so of course I can't let you work for nothing. These beast crystals will be used as wages and will be distributed according to the work done by each person." Only after hearing the last part did Shan Mao understand what Su Qianqian meant. He was so scared that he quickly stuffed the box back into Su Qianqian's hands. "No. We are your slaves, and it is our duty to help you do these things. How can we ask for beast crystals?" Su Qianqian said, "I've said before, in my tribe there are no slaves, everyone is equal and we treat everyone equally. You work for me, so of course I have to pay you." No. Shan Mao's face turned pale with fear. "Chief Su, you saved us from the Devil's Cave in Wanshou City and provided us with food and shelter. We are already very grateful. We can't repay you in our lifetime. How can we still ask for your wages?" After saying this, Shan Mao was afraid that Su Qianqian would ask him to distribute the beast crystals again, so he ran away. Su Qianqian looked at the mountain cat's back as it ran away and shook her head helplessly. Forget it. After all, these orcs have been accustomed to slave life for decades, and the slave mentality is deeply rooted. It is impossible to change it in a short time. Let's take it slowly. Su Qianqian looked at the beast crystal in the box. Perhaps if she changed the method, they would be more receptive. Ever since they went to Wanshou City to sell soap and experienced the sweetness of earning 80 beast crystals in one day, the orcs in the tribe became more motivated and went up the mountain to collect soapberries before dawn every day. They set out before dawn and returned at dark, with their backpacks and baskets filled to the brim. Su Qianqian almost suspected that if these guys hadn't been unable to fit in their backpacks, they would probably not come back until midnight. At the beginning, she was worried that the orcs would always go up the mountain in large numbers and attract sieges from ferocious beasts, so she specially sent a few people from Shifeng to go with them to protect the orcs' safety. But after going there a few times, they found that the ferocious beasts did not dare to approach the hills near the 10,000 Beasts tribe. High-level ferocious beasts that originally lived nearby had long since fled from here. Su Qianqian guessed that it was probably because she was too aggressive in hunting down the 5th-level beasts a few days ago that the beasts were scared. Afterwards, she let the orcs go up the mountain alone without any worries. Of course, the construction of the soap workshop is also proceeding in an orderly manner. It took about 7 days to build. On this day, Su Qianqian was organizing Shan Mao and a few others to soak all the ground soap beans in a wooden basin, when Shi Yuan came running over in a hurry. Sumo, it's bad. Something big has happened. Su Qianqian wiped the water off her hands with animal skin and looked up. What happened? Don't be anxious. Tell me slowly. Shi Yuan propped his hands on his knees and took a few deep breaths. After a long while, he said, I just went to Wanshou City. Guess what news I heard? City Lord. Dead. Su Qianqian paused as she put the animal skin away and asked hurriedly, who died? Which city lord died? It's the former mayor of East City, Dong Noa. Shi Yuan panted, with a look of shock on his face. He died just a few days after taking the position of mayor. He was found yesterday, and his body was already stinking. Hearing that the dead person was the lord of East City, Su Qianqian suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, and then asked in confusion, how could he die suddenly? Even the body stinks. Could it be that no one has discovered it during this period? I don't know. Shi Yuan shook his head. I heard that it was discovered by the Red Fox Saint, and she was the one who stayed with him the whole time. At this point, Shi Yuan's face suddenly became a little embarrassed. I also heard that the city lord was too old, and he was hanging out with the Red Fox Saint every day, so he was unrestrained. So, when he was found, he was not even wearing a piece of animal skin. What does this have to do with anything? The males in the beast world shouldn't be this weak, right? The Lord of East City is a 5th-level orc. How could he die in bed because of something like this? Su Qianqian still didn't quite believe this statement. Anyway, now all the beast men in the entire Wanshou City are saying that the Red Fox Saint is a demon who specializes in sucking people's energy. The city lord died because he was drained of his energy by her. Shi Yuan said. Su Qianqian. Isn't this pure nonsense? Anyway, Su Qianqian doesn't believe it. She would rather believe that Yin Shua was behind all this. Later proved that Su Qianqian's guess was correct. After the death of the Lord of East City, the Lord of South City also died. The same way of dying was found. It was already smelly, without any clothes. Because it was such a humiliating way of death, the two were still despised by the residents of Wanshou City even after their death. As for the Red Fox Saint, there are more and more rumors that she is a fairy who sucks people's essence. When Su Qianqian learned about this, the Red Fox Saint had already been imprisoned in an underground cave in Wanshou City, waiting to be burned at the stake half a month later. On this day, a new guest arrived in the 10,000 Beasts tribe. Su Qianqian knew this person. It's Dora. The guy who could have inherited the position of West City Lord after Yin Shua faked his death. He knelt in front of Su Qianqian and said in a pleading tone, I beg you, please save Ronggu. Now only you can save Ronggu. And only you can stop that guy Yin Shua. Su Qianqian looked at Duo Luo, who was lying on the ground, almost crying, and frowned slightly. Yin Shua, what did he do? He has gone crazy. Duo Luo suddenly raised his head and said heartbreakingly, he killed the Lord of East City, the Lord of South City. He imprisoned Ronggu, and he wants to kill all of us. He is completely crazy. You have to stop him.
Su Ianianes braus darkand.
However, at this moment, several orc warriors from Wanshou City suddenly rushed into the tribe with stone spears in their hands and pressed Duo Luo to the ground in the blink of an eye. Many orcs, watching, were shocked. They saw Duo Luo struggling desperately, howling, Let me go. You traitors, your dirty hands are not worthy of touching me.
Get out.
But no matter how he struggled, the orc warriors seemed to be completely deaf to his words and pinned him to the ground with the stone spears in their hands. Duo Luo could only ask Su Qianqian for help. But before he could open his mouth, Yin Shua's voice rang out from behind him. Doro, I'll spare your life because you're a member of the Silver Eagle family, but that doesn't mean you can talk nonsense here. Su Qianqian looked up following the voice and saw Yin Shua slowly walking out from behind the orc warriors. There was a person standing on each side of him, the Great Wizard of East City and the Great Wizard of South City, respectively. The two great wizards stood beside Yin Shua with their brows lowered, and their expressions were extremely respectful. It's really unexpected, Yin Shua. Su Qianqian curled her lips and slowly said, You can even subdue 2 7th-level wizards. Is there anything else I can't expect? Qianqian, What are you talking about? Inshua tilted his head innocently. He glanced at Duo Luo on the ground, and a fierce look flashed across his eyes. You believe this guy's nonsense? Given our relationship, you should believe me. His usual warm smile returned to his face, and he turned around and told the orc next to him, shut his mouth and take him away. Several orcs immediately took out some animal skins and blocked Duo Luo's mouth. Duo Luo struggled desperately, kneeling on the ground, crying in an extremely humble voice. I beg you, Inshua, I really beg you, for the sake of us being orcs of the same race, please let Rongu go. You have killed his father, and he is the only heir left to the entire East City. Please spare him, but no matter how he begged, Inshua's expression did not change at all. He glanced at the surrounding orc warriors calmly and said with a hint of impatience, why don't you speed up? Several orc warriors were so frightened that they almost dropped the stone spears in their hands. Not daring to delay for a moment, they quickly blocked Duo Luo's mouth with animal skins, tied him up tightly with animal skin ropes, and quickly carried him away from the 10,000 Beasts tribe. 10,000 Beasts tribe looked at this scene, totally confused, and had no idea what was going on. Su Qianqian looked at Inshua in front of her with a gloomy look in her eyes and said, Inshua, what do you want to do? You will know soon. Inshua smiled slightly, left the sentence, and left with the orc warriors, without giving Su Qianqian any time to ask another question.
Another day passed like this.
Shi Yuan, who had made a special trip to Wanshou City to gather information, returned. He brought back new news. The last lord of Wanshou City, the lord of North City, Beatty, was also dead. Now, the entire Wanshou City can be said to be leaderless, with only Rongu, Duo Luo, and other incompetent juniors left. Therefore, Inshua naturally took the position of the lord of Wanshou City. In addition, he established new city rules, merging the 4 cities in the southeast, northwest, northeast, and southwest into one. From then on, he was the only supreme ruler and private city lords were not allowed. He has unified the entire Wanshou City. Although the method is a bit cruel, it is still a good method. Shi Fang sighed. In the past, the forces of Wanshou City were divided into 4 groups. Although this made it convenient to manage certain affairs of the city, it also caused many internal troubles and easily gave rise to disloyalty. The previous case of the Lord of Wanshou City being schemed against by 4 smaller city lords is a living example. I didn't realize that Inshua is such a resourceful guy. Shi Yuan took a few sips of water and sighed as well. With him governing Wanshou City alone, and with the help of Lord Shijua, Wanshou City should be getting better and better, Nan Wu said, turning his head to look at Su Qianqian next to him. Chief Su, what do you think? Su Qianqian pursed her lips and said nothing. She always felt that things would not end so easily. And things turned out just as she thought. On the second day after Inshua took the throne of City Lord, dozens of orc warriors came to the 10,000 Beasts tribe. They carried dozens of boxes of animal crystals and tens of thousands of animal skins and placed them at the entrance of the 10,000 Beasts tribe. When Su Qianqian was dragged by Shi Yuan to see, the orc warriors were kneeling on the ground one by one. Dozens of boxes of beast crystals were opened and placed beside them, shining brightly and dazzlingly. What is this for? Su Qianqian frowned, having a bad feeling. Kneeling at the head said, the city lord said that these are all betrothal gifts. He has held a grand matchmaking ceremony for you in the city of all beasts. Please be sure to go. I'm not going. Su Qianqian's eyes slowly swept across the beast crystals and animal skins on the ground. I won't form a partnership with him. You guys take the things away. Dozens of orc warriors knelt on the ground without moving. The city lord said that if you don't go, it means we are not doing our job well. We must kneel here forever and accept the punishment.
Huh?
Su Qianqian couldn't help but laugh out loud. Inshua, you are really good at this. Do you think you can force her to submit like this? Since you are willing to kneel here for the rest of your life. After saying this, Su Qianqian returned to the tribe, without looking back. 3 days passed like this. Those orcs were still kneeling on the open space outside the tribe, and refused to leave no matter who tried to persuade them. During this time, Nanwu couldn't bear it anymore and sent them some food and drinks, but the orc warriors didn't even look at them. They said that if you don't go to Wansho City to participate in the couple matching conference, they dare not eat anything, not even drink water, otherwise In Shoa will kill them. Nanwu sighed. How could In Shoa do this? Shi Yuan couldn't help but say, no matter what, you can't take your anger out on the lives of the orc warriors. It's okay for them to not eat for a few days, but how can they not drink water? In Shoa is using the lives of these orc warriors to force you, Somo. Su Qianqian rubbed her temple vigorously and said, I also know that In Shoa's personality has always been like this. It was like this before, and it is still like this now. In the past, he could imprison her in the family's forbidden area without any care, never letting her see the light of day. Now that he sits on the throne of the city lord and holds such great power in his hands, he can vent his desires even more unscrupulously. This is not a solution. Shi Yuan frowned in distress. How about Somo? Why don't you go to the city of beasts? Go and see him and comfort him. Maybe he will. Before he could finish his words, the mountain cat came running over in a hurry. It's bad. Chief Su, those orc warriors fainted. How could you not faint after kneeling under such a hot sun without food or water for 3 days and 3 nights? Shi Yuan and Nanwu turned to look at Su Qianqian. What should we do? This was just fainting. These orc warriors were really cruel to themselves. If a ferocious beast accidentally slipped down from the mountain one day, they would probably carry it on their backs without moving an inch. Su Qianqian sighed helplessly and could only say, let's find a way to give them some water first. Nanwu hesitated and said, but they still don't drink it? If you don't want to drink it, just force it down. Su Qianqian left after saying this. She went to find the Great Witch of West City. The Great Wizard of West City was sitting under the eaves of the soap workshop at this moment, waving the purple vanilla that the orcs had just picked in his hands. After a short while, a beautiful purple wreath was woven in his hands. Xiaoju lay on his knees, his pair of black and white eyes widened, shining with admiration. Wow! The Great Wizard is so powerful. The Great Witch of West City smiled and put the wreath in his hand on Xiaoju's head. Xiaoju was so happy that she wanted to fly. She wore the wreath and turned around in front of the witch several times, asking repeatedly, Does it look good? Does it look good? The Great Wizard nodded, a rare gentle smile appearing on his face. Although she didn't want to break this wonderful atmosphere, Su Qianqian still walked over and said, Great Witch, I have something to discuss with you. Chief Su is here. When Xiaoju saw her, he immediately took off the wreath on his head and handed it to her. It's for you. Chief Su is beautiful, and she will be even more beautiful with the wreath on. I don't need it. Xiaoju, you wear it. Su Qianqian rubbed her head, squatted down and said, Xiaoju, I have something to discuss with the Great Witch. Can you go and play with your brother? Okay. Xiaoju nodded and obediently ran away holding the wreath. What do you want to discuss with me? As soon as Xiaoju left, the Great Wizard returned to his cold look. Su Qianqian glanced at him and said, Your injury has already healed. Isn't it time to go back to your city of beasts? The witch picked up the purple grass in the basket beside her and started weaving it, saying, Why should I go back? There is food and drink here, and the house is comfortable to live in. Why should I go back to that place and suffer? His tone was calm, but he spoke as if it was a matter of course. Su Qianqian was furious. This is obviously my tribe. The Great Witch said, Oh, then lowered her head and continued to weave the wreath in her hand, no longer paying attention to Su Qianqian. Su Qianqian finally couldn't help but said, If you don't go back to Wansho City, who will stop In Shoa? Do you know what he has done to abuse his power for personal gain? I know. The Great Wizard said calmly without even looking up, but even Master Shijue can't stop him. So what can I do if I go back? Master Shijue? Su Qianqian was stunned when she heard this. Could it be that the two of them quarreled because of this? The Great Witch sighed and finally put down the half-woven wreath in his hand and slowly said, At the beginning, Lord Shijue had already known about his plan to kill several city lords, and the two quarreled fiercely. Lord Shijue's original intention was to benefit the residents of Wanshou City, but Inshua insisted on sitting on the position of the city lord, holding great power and ruling the entire Wanshou City. Inshua's character is too strong and overbearing. He often disregards many innocent lives for his own selfish desires. Lord Shijue was angered by him and left because he wanted to see what would happen to him. What about you? Su Qianqian narrowed her eyes and looked at the great wizard in front of her. Why did you stand on Inshua's side and help him deceive me? The great wizard spread his hands helplessly. I didn't lie to you. He really wanted to kill me, and as long as I completely disappear, the city lord's vigilance against him will naturally decrease, and he will be able to better implement his plan. Su Qianqian raised her eyebrows. He also gave you the poison. Oh, no, I drank the poison myself. The great wizard touched his nose, looking a little unnatural, because I thought that if I drank the same poison as the slaves, you would save me. As it turned out, I was right. Su Qianqian. Well, one or two of them really made her run around in circles. Su Qianqian was so angry that she wanted to hit someone. But she was still no match for the 7th-rank wizard, so she took a deep breath and said, I don't care. Anyway, I saved you. So I am your savior. You have to repay me, go back to your city of beasts, and solve this problem of Inshua. Great witch. He silently picked up the wreath beside him and continued weaving. Su Qianqian, don't pretend to be deaf, go. The great wizard looked up at her with a look that said, Duent make things difficult for me. Su Qianqian used her trump card. If you don't go, I will make Nanwen never give you deer milk again. Great witch. He put down the wreath in his hand and sighed deeply. Chief Su, please don't embarrass me. You know, who else can stop Inshua now except you? After saying this, he pretended to shrink his neck in fear and said, Look, even the 2 great wizards from East City and South City have been recruited by him as his left and right arms. I can't beat them. Su Qianqian. I don't believe you. Why do these 2 great witches want to follow Inshua? Thinking of how the 2 great witches were respectful to Inshua before, Su Qianqian couldn't help but ask, did Inshua catch something on them? Not at all. The great wizard said, as the great wizards who assist the lord of Wanshou City, we are both a symbol of power and have the right to choose who to follow. The status of those lords in the hearts of the residents of Wanshou City has been declining again and again. They have no skills and often fight among themselves. It is only a matter of time before they are abandoned by the great wizard. Inshua is just the person they have chosen to assist them. Su Qianqian. So, in short, Inshua is very difficult to deal with now. Not only does he hold the power of Wanshou City, he also has the help of 2 7th-level wizards. Now, he does have the power to decide other people's life and death. Su Qianqian let out a long breath, looked at the Nanwu people who were following her quietly not far away, and said, Nanwu, tell those orc warriors that I will go to the Beast City tomorrow and ask them to carry the things back. Okay. After receiving the order, Nanwu quickly turned around and went to find the orc warriors. Shifeng said worriedly, How about? We go with you tomorrow, I'm afraid, Inshua. No need. Su Qianqian shook her head and refused. If you go, he will have something to threaten me with. Shifeng didn't speak. Inshua would indeed do such a thing. Be careful with that person. If he forces you to do something you don't want to do, don't worry about your past reputation and leave him.
Su Qianqian nodded. I understand.
But when they were about to set off the next day, Su Qianqian couldn't help but feel a little timid. Inshua has many tricks up his sleeve, such as the colorful grass that makes people fall into a coma and never wake up, or the black dragonwood anklet that can't be burned by water or fire. She had to be well prepared before going. Otherwise, if she got into trouble again, she wouldn't be able to come back. So, before Su Qianqian set out for Wanshou City, she not only used a disguise cloak to completely change her appearance, but also bought a gas mask to keep with her. Then she took out the electric saw and other things, ready to cut off any ropes or chains that tied her up so she could leave in time. Also, prepare some concentrated sulfuric acid so that if she is tied up by something like the black dragonwood that is as good as fine iron, she can escape. Making all the preparations, Su Qianqian finally set off for Wanshou City. Arriving at Wanshou City, Su Qianqian discovered that there were no orc warriors guarding the city gate. She was a little confused and looked around carefully to make sure there were no traps before she dared to step into the city of beasts. However, there was still not a single orc on the streets of Wanshou City. The streets were empty and deserted. What's going on? Wanshou City? Where have they gone? Didn't Inshua say that he was holding a couple matching conference in Wanshou City? Why is there no one here? Su Qianqian walked along the empty street. Although there was not a single orc on this street, it looked as if it had been specially cleaned. It was spotless without a trace of dust. Su Qianqian did not dare to be careless. She kept the chainsaw in her storage ring and held the particle ray gun in her hand at all times. She was extremely alert. The more so, the more vigilant she had to be. Who knows what this guy Inshua is doing behind the scenes? She walked forward and saw a cave with a wide-open stone door not far away. Could it be that this was the trap that Inshua had set for her? Su Qianqian walked over carefully, holding the particle ray gun, and opened the protective cover of the particle laser screen without worrying about it, but she walked around the cave and found no suspicious traces. There were no one lying in ambush around. Finally, Su Qianqian plucked up the courage and walked into the cave. Even though the stone door was wide open, the light in the cave was still dim. There was a strong smell of urine in the cave, which was disgusting. There were all kinds of things piled on the ground, including animal bones, wild beast hair, torn animal skins, and bloodstains. It was a mess. As she went deeper, Su Qianqian finally saw clearly that there was a person lying on the ground. The man seemed to have heard the footsteps and slowly raised his head. What came into view was an extremely thin and pale face. She is the saint of the Red Fox clan. Su Qianqian stood there in a daze, her face full of disbelief. You're here. The Red Fox saint didn't seem surprised at all by Su Qianqian's arrival. She slowly and with difficulty crawled up from the ground. The animal skin on her body was tattered, and she was almost. There was not a single intact piece of skin on her exposed body. There were ambiguous red marks, traces of being whipped, and scars from being burned by flint.
It was a horrible sight.
More serious is that her exposed skin was faintly purple-blue, which clearly showed that she was severely poisoned. Su Qianqian couldn't help but gasp. Who did this? Was it Inshua? Or those city lords? The Red Fox Saint looked at Su Qianqian's surprised expression and chuckled as if to mock herself. You must be very proud to see me like this now. I am the saint of the Red Fox clan, the most holy female in the world. My body was originally intended to be offered to a male like the city lord, but now it has been ruined into the state. However, I don't regret it at all. She slightly pulled the corners of her mouth, as if she was smiling, but because her cheeks were too thin, the sides of her cheeks were deeply sunken and her cheekbones were high. This smile was uglier and more terrifying than not smiling at all. Those city lords actually deceived me and wanted to use me to hurt the city lord. He is the person I love and respect the most. How dare they do that? They deserve to die. I will make them pay a heavy price. Su Qianqian looked at the Red Fox Saint's eyes full of crazy hatred, silently lowered her eyelashes, and said, So, you used yourself as bait and teamed up with Inshua to kill them. From the appearance of the Red Fox Saint, she could vaguely guess the reasons for the deaths of those city lords. The poison in the Red Fox Saint's body had obviously been there for more than half a month. The poison could be spread through body fluids and other means. She used herself as bait to lure those city lords into being deceived, and eventually caused them to die of the poison in their beds. No wonder the bodies of those city lords were rotting and emitting a foul odor when they were found. It was not because the bodies had been left for too long, but because of poisoning.
Ha ha ha.
Don't they deserve to die? The Red Fox Saint laughed wildly and looked at Su Qianqian with hatred. Not only do they deserve to die, but Inshua also deserves to die. He actually coveted the position of the city lord. And you deserve to die too. Oh? Su Qianqian raised her eyelids and said, I don't know. Why should I die? You want to save the city lord, but can I save those slaves? Oh, Those dirty and lowly slaves are nothing compared to a finger of the city lord. The Red Fox Saint sneered, and then looked at Su Qianqian again. But you are different. You are a saintly female, so, as long as you die, your blood can save the city lord. As she spoke, the Red Fox Saint picked up the broken animal bones on the ground and stabbed towards Su Qianqian fiercely. Su Qianqian had been prepared for this. Just as she was about to take action, a silver-gray feather arrow flew from behind her and hit the Red Fox Saint's hand holding the animal bone. Her hand was once again nailed to the ground by the feather arrow. This time, the Red Fox Saint did not howl in pain, but fainted on the ground from the pain. Inshua slowly walked out from behind him and sneered, "Oh, he's still restless even after all this. It seems like this guy really can't be kept. Qianqian, I'll chop off her hand to avenge you, okay?" He spoke. He hugged her from behind around the waist, buried his head in her neck, and sniffed her gently. Su Qianqian subconsciously looked down at her body and said, "I've become like this. Can you still smell the odor on me?" "I know. I've always known it. From the first time we met, I knew you were a cunning and fickle female. You would transform into someone else and use all kinds of tricks to escape from me." The man's voice sounded softly in my ear. "So, I put my scent on you. This smell will stay on you forever unless I die. No matter where you run to, I can follow this smell to find you." Su Qianqian. Why is he using the same tactics as Huyang? Why are these men afraid that she will run away and deliberately leave their scent on her? Aren't they really afraid that she will kill them? But when did this guy Inshua put the smell on her? Su Qianqian frowned and thought about it. Could it be the last time they were intimate in that cave? "Qianqian, you haven't answered my question yet." Seeing that Su Qianqian had been silent, Inshua could no longer hold back and gently pinched her chin with his slender white fingers, forcing her to look at the Red Fox Saint on the ground. "Look, I had her hand chopped off when she hurt you last time. Do you want to chop off this hand as well?" Su Qianqian looked over and saw that the Red Fox Saint's right hand was indeed gone. The entire palm was cut off from the wrist bone, but she didn't know what medicine was applied on the wound, and there was not much blood from the broken part. Su Qianqian's face turned cold when she saw this. Inshua's voice continued to ring in his ears. "If you don't form a partnership with me, the orcs will end up like this." His voice was lazy, yet ghostly, and a bit evil. After hearing this, Su Qianqian finally pushed the man behind her away in anger. She turned around, stared at him, and said word by word, "Inshua, you really disappoint me. I originally thought that you would change after I saved you, but I was wrong. You are still the same person as before. You have never changed. You are still the selfish and arrogant Silver Eagle orc." "No, that's not it." Inshua seemed to be stabbed deeply in the heart by Su Qianqian's extremely disappointed eyes. He hurriedly explained, I didn't. That's enough. Stop talking." Su Qianqian took a deep breath, looked at the man in front of her, and said in an extremely disappointed tone, "You are like this, which makes me feel extremely disgusted. It is really difficult for me to like you." After saying that, Su Qianqian turned around and left without mercy, as if she never wanted to see this hideous face again. Inshua suddenly froze in place. He did not chase after her. For the first time, a look of dejection and sadness appeared in those beautiful, wide-open silver-gray eyes. She said he was disgusting. She said she didn't like him anymore. Why is this happening? Did he really do something wrong? Inshua hugged his head tightly and knelt on the ground in collapse and despair. Why is this happening? He just wanted to be with her forever. "Inshua, you have been doing it wrong from the beginning, and you have always been doing it wrong." As he spoke, the great wizard of West City slowly walked in from outside the cave, eavesdropping outside for a long time, and was not at all surprised by the situation inside. She is a saintly female who loves freedom. The more you try to trap her, the more you will push her away. You have been with her for so long. Don't you know her at all? I thought that as long as I sat in this position and had great power, she would be willing to become my female," he murmured, "but in the end, I was still wrong, and I failed at the last hurdle. Recalling what Su Qianqian had just said, Inshua felt a sharp pain in his heart, just like last time, as if a big hand was squeezing his heart tightly, making him feel so uncomfortable that he couldn't breathe. What should I do? She said she doesn't like me anymore. What I did made her feel so disgusted. She must hate me to death. Inshua lowered his head, his eyes slightly red, and his voice gradually became choked. What should I do? What should I do so that she will like me? He sat on the ground, hugged his knees, and cried in fear like a panicked child. The great wizard of West City walked forward, patted his shoulder comfortingly, and said, "Go and apologize. Admit your mistakes and apologize for your actions." He paused and then continued, "Chief Su is a very good person. She is kind and generous and has a broad mind. I think she will forgive you. After all, she saved me because of you." The Beast Tribe. Shifeng, Shi Yuan and others were waiting anxiously at the entrance of the tribe, looking in the direction of Wanshou City from afar. Su Qianqian went to Wanshou City alone. Although they had made all the preparations, they couldn't help but worry and waited at the entrance of the tribe. They also made up their minds that if Su Qianqian did not come back before dark, they would go to Wanshou City to rescue her. So, when several people saw Su Qianqian walking towards the tribe unharmed from afar, they couldn't help but widen their eyes in surprise, as if they couldn't believe it. "Hey, you back now? Didn't Inshua force you to get married? Or are you already a couple, and you came back to move things?" Shi Yuan scratched his head and walked over, but was unexpectedly met with Su Qianqian's gloomy face. "Don't mention that guy to me again." Su Qianqian said this coldly, and walked into the tribe without stopping or looking back. What on earth happened? Shi Yuan was completely confused. Did they have a fight? Su Mu lost, so he's upset? Duent make blind guesses. Nan Wu glanced at him helplessly. Chief Su's safe return means nothing happened, so the marriage plan must have fallen through. Doesn't that mean Simo won? Ha ha ha. That kid Inshua is no match for Simo. Shi Yuan pinched his waist and laughed wildly a few times. In a blink of an eye, he saw the great witch of West City, who was trying to sneak into the tribe not far away. He immediately shouted, "Hey! How dare you sneak into our 10,000 Beast tribe?" The great wizard of West City glared over with his pair of golden animal eyes. Seventh level wizard was revealed in an instant. Shi Yuan was so frightened that his neck shrank immediately. He hid behind Shifeng and said tremblingly, "What are you doing?" "I was just yelling for fun." The great witch of West City snorted softly, then retracted his gaze and walked into the tribe with a swagger. Shi Yuan curled his lips and said softly, "This is obviously our tribe, but he comes in whenever he wants and leaves whenever he wants." The sharp-eared great wizard of West City suddenly turned around and looked over again. Shi Yuan immediately covered his mouth, as if to say, "I didn't say anything." Shifeng saw this and quickly laughed and said, "Well, great witch, why are you going out today?" "Oh, just strolling around and picking some purple vanilla for Xiaojiu." The great witch said expressionlessly, turned around and walked into the tribe neatly, as if he didn't want to give Shifeng and the others a chance to ask more questions. Shi Yuan clicked his tongue twice in a low voice. I think he was just worried about Su Mu, so he secretly followed Su Mu to Wanshou City on purpose. Now that Su Mu has returned safely, he sneaked back again. As time goes by, the weather gradually becomes cooler. Su Qianqian stood under the eaves and looked up at the distant sky. The afternoon sky is as clear as a piece of glazed tile, clear and transparent, and as blue as lake water. Su Qianqian squinted her eyes unconsciously. The hot season had passed, and the most comfortable season of the year had arrived. In the beast world, after the hot season every year, there will be a mild season lasting 3 months, which is somewhat similar to the autumn in the modern world. This season is the most comfortable, neither too cold nor too hot. The fruits and vegetables on the mountains are ripe, and the wild beasts and ferocious animals go out to look for food. It is the most suitable season for hunting and stockpiling supplies for the winter. At the same time, it is also the best season for farming. Su Qianqian had been looking forward to the arrival of this season. She got up early today and called Nanwu. The two of them selected an area suitable for farming not far from the tribe. This area is flat, has the most fertile soil, and is close to the river, making it easy to irrigate. Nan Wu didn't quite understand how to plant the land, so he scratched his head and asked, "Do we just put the seeds in there?" Su Qianqian shook her head. The first step is to dig out the soil first, that is, to cultivate the land first so that the soil becomes softer and more moist so that the seeds can survive when planted. Oh, Nan Wu nodded thoughtfully. Then how do I hoe the land? Do I need any tools? As he spoke, he showed his sharp mole claws. Can I use my claws to dig? Of course not. Su Qianqian smiled and shook her head. We need to use plowing tools. In traditional agricultural farming, plowing tools are indispensable. The most common one is the moldboard plow, which consists of a heavy blade at the end of a beam. It is used to turn over the soil and form furrows. It is usually tied to livestock, but can also be driven by manpower. She used to live in the countryside and was familiar with this thing, so she planned to ask the orcs in the tribe to make one out of wood to try it out. Su Qianqian took out a detailed structural drawing of the moldboard plow from her storage ring and explained it carefully to the orcs. Everyone only understood half of what was said. Although they didn't quite understand, it didn't stop them from trying. Nan Wu took the blueprint and led everyone up the mountain without stopping, preparing to chop some wood before coming back. Su Qianqian did not stop them. Although there were many wild beasts on the mountain at this season, ever since the Great Witch of West City moved into the tribe, every time an orc went to the mountain, he would follow secretly from behind. Maybe he wanted to protect everyone, even though it seems like a thief. As soon as Nan Wu went up the mountain, Shi Yuan ran to her in a hurry, shouting, "It's bad. It's bad." Su Qianqian frowned and looked at him. What happened again? That. Shi Yuan seemed to be having a hard time speaking. Anyway, you'll know when you go and take a look. Su Qianqian looked confused, but still rushed over to take a look. 10,000 Beasts Tribe. Large boxes of animal crystals and animal skins were filled to the brim, but there was no one around. It was as if these things appeared out of thin air. Who got this? Su Qianqian was a little dazed looking at so many supplies. Who else could it be? Shi Fang kicked a box in front of him. These boxes are exactly the same as last time. Who else could it be if it wasn't that guy in Shua who had them placed here? Su Qianqian sighed helplessly after hearing this. Why did he ask people to bring these things over again? Shi Yuan scratched his head in confusion. Does he want to force Su Mu to be his partner? I don't think so. Shi Fang shook his head. At this time, Bobcat ran over again in a hurry. Chief Su, it's bad. It's bad. What happened again? Su Qianqian rubbed her forehead hard twice. Our soap factory is haunted. Shan Mao pointed in the direction of the soap workshop and said in horror. When we went in just now, we found that all the soap berries collected from the mountain yesterday had been ground up and soaked in clean water. Even the dirt and impurities inside had been picked out. This is pretty good. Shi Yuan spread his hands. Are you not happy that someone is working for you for free? But we don't know who did it? Shan Mao's nervous face showed a hint of hope. Do you think we may have disturbed the mountain god, and he used his divine power to help us do these things? Su Qianqian. However, the next moment, another group of orcs came running over in a hurry, shouting, "Oh no! Oh no!" Su Qianqian was already numb from hearing this. She looked over expressionlessly and said, "Did someone secretly do the work you were doing?" "Hey, Chief Su, how did you know?" Several orcs were stunned, and then said, "Chief Su, we dragged down the prey from the mountain yesterday and had not had time to deal with it. When we went to see it today, we found that someone had dissected it. The skin and bones were all cleaned up, and there was not a trace of blood on the ground. We don't know who did it. It must have been done by the mountain god." The mountain cat said innocently, "We are the only tribe living in the forest of 10,000 beasts. The mountain god must not want to see us working so hard, so he secretly used his divine power to help us do all the work." Su Qianqian. I don't know if there is a mountain god, but there must be one who is doing something secretly. You said, there is not a trace of blood left on the ground? Su Qianqian suddenly asked. Yes. Not even a trace of blood is left. Several orcs nodded in unison. Upon hearing this, Su Qianqian narrowed her eyes slightly, then turned her head to look at the river not far away. Birds are generally clean freaks and take great care of their feathers. It was almost dusk. Su Qianqian took a walk by the river while no one was around. Recently, the orcs in the tribe have come to the river less frequently. After all, everyone has a wooden barrel at home. Every time they come to the river, they fill the barrel up, which can be used for many days. The demand for water is not that great, and they will not bathe in the river casually. But this time, Su Qianqian still saw a set of fallen animal skin skirt by the river. The texture of the animal skin is good and looks valuable. Su Qianqian looked towards the river, but did not see anyone bathing in it. Is he hiding? Su Qianqian narrowed her eyes slightly and shouted deliberately, "Whose clothes fell here?" There was silence in the air, no one responded as usual, and the surface of the river was calm and motionless. Since no one wants it, Su Qianqian smiled slyly, then picked up the animal skin skirt on the ground and threw it into the storage ring. "Then I'll take it away." She finished speaking. She slowly left the river. When she came to a big rock, she moved and quickly hid behind it. She just didn't believe that this guy could hold it in. Su Qianqian hid behind a rock and quietly stuck her head out to look. There was still no one by the river. Not even a head could be seen on the calm river surface. No, how can you hold your breath for that long? Su Qianqian waited for a while, staring at the river bank opposite, as if she wanted to stare a hole in the water. But she waited for half a day, but there was no one in the river, not even a ghost. Could it be that she really guessed wrong? Inshoa didn't come here at all? Whose skin is this? Su Qianqian looked at the first skirt in her hand suspiciously. The texture was so good, and it didn't look like it belonged to an orc in the tribe. Forget it, never mind. I'll find time to ask Bobcat and the others tomorrow. Su Qianqian stuffed the animal skin skirt back into the storage ring, turned around, and left without looking back. After she was completely gone, the originally calm riverside finally began to ripple. Night. Su Qianqian returned to her room and prepared to rest. But as soon as she entered the room, she sensed a different atmosphere. The bright moonlight shone through the window, illuminating almost half of the room, making the light in the room not so dim. So, Su Qianqian could tell at a glance that someone had entered her room. Why do you say that? Her room was obviously much cleaner than when she left in the morning. The floor was spotless, and the bedside table and the table and chairs beside it were wiped clean and bright, as if someone had cleaned them specially. Su Qianqian walked forward suspiciously, checked briefly, and found that the dirty clothes basket she had placed next to the closet was missing, along with the dirty clothes inside. Su Qianqian frowned, then walked out of the house decisively and opened the door. When she looked inside, she saw that the dirty clothes she had worn before were hung under the eaves. They were washed very clean, and even her more private underwear and panties had been scrubbed carefully. Su Qianqian's face turned red and then pale. She called out to Bobcat, who was about to go back to his room to rest. "Bobcat, did you see anyone come to my room during the day?" "No," the mountain cat yawned and looked at her. "Your room is always closed. We have never seen anyone go in." Su Qianqian frowned. It seemed that the guy who sneaked into her room was quite clever and managed to avoid the eyes of the tribe. "What happened?" Bobcat asked puzzledly. "It's okay, go back to sleep." Su Qianqian waved to Bobcat and then returned to the room. She opened the plain trading system and bought a lock easily. She just didn't believe it, so when she went out tomorrow, she would lock the door and see how that guy could get into her room. After making all the preparations, Su Qianqian finally felt relieved and lay down on the bed contentedly, ready to go to sleep. These days she was busy teaching Nanwu and the others how to make a moldboard plow. She was so exhausted during the day that as soon as she touched the bed, sleepiness came over her like a tide, and she soon fell into a deep sleep. But tonight, she didn't sleep well. In a daze, Su Qianqian felt an inexplicable heat around her body. It seemed like something was constantly rubbing against her cheeks, neck, forehead, and lips. Su Qianqian turned her head away uncomfortably. It was so hot. Clearly over. Why is it still so hot? In her sleep, She subconsciously moved to the side, trying to get away from the heat source, but was pulled back by a big hand and hugged tightly. Who is it? Su Qianqian opened her eyes dazedly. What caught my eye was the strong, smooth chest, so white it was blinding. Man's chest. Su Qianqian was startled, and her mind instantly became clear. Yin Shua. Looking at the handsome face so close to her, Su Qianqian almost screamed out loud. But she quickly stopped talking, calmed down, lowered her voice, and asked fiercely, "When did you come? How did you get into my room? Why did you touch my things?" The man looked at her innocently, his voice inexplicably revealing a sense of grievance. "I am your slave. Isn't it my duty to help you wash clothes and clean the house? But you can't climb into my bed in the middle of the night," Su Qianqian said. Then she lifted the quilt, pushed him away, and left. But the next second her movements froze. "No. Why are you climbing onto my bed? Who told you to take all my clothes away?" Yin Shua argued in a low voice.
Su Liangyan. Okay, bileyim her.
Her hands are itchy. Su Qianqian took a deep breath, then quickly touched the storage ring with her fingers. "I will return the animal skin to you now. Put on your clothes and leave quickly." If someone found out that she had a man sleeping in her room, her innocence would be ruined. "Qianqian." Yin Shua held her hand. He pursed his lips, looked at her with red eyes, and said in a low voice, "Are you still angry with me? I was wrong. Qianqian, please don't be angry with me anymore, okay, please? Put on your clothes first." Su Qianqian broke free from his hand and continued to take out clothes from the storage ring. Yin Shua reached out his hand and held her tightly in his arms. He buried his head in her neck and said in a hoarse voice, "I was wrong. I was really wrong. I will never force you to do anything you don't want to do again. Qianqian, please don't be angry with me anymore. I won't force you to get married." Su Qianqian paused. "You really not forcing me to find a partner?"
Yeah.
Yin Shua nodded repeatedly. "As long as I can be with you, it doesn't matter whether we become a couple or not." "Well, I forgive you." Su Qianqian took a breath and pushed the man's arms away again. "But you have to get up and put on your clothes first." "I don't want it." The man hugged her waist again, and his warm breath sprayed on her cheeks, ambiguous and hot. "I am your slave. I will warm your bed." Warming the bed? Su Qianqian's brain froze for a moment. Do slaves in the beast world have to warm the beds of their masters? Why has she never heard of this? "No need. Why are you warming the bed in such a hot day?" Su Qianqian gritted her teeth and tried to push him again, but her fingers touched the man's muscular chest, which was extremely hot. It was so hot that she withdrew her hand unconsciously. "Why not?" Yin Shua stared at her with a gloomy gaze, his Adam's apple rolling up and down, but his voice was inexplicably aggrieved. "Qianqian, are you still unwilling to forgive me?" Being stared at by his sticky eyes, Su Qianqian's cheeks also inexplicably became hot. She turned her face away and said, "I don't hate you, but this is not a reason for you to stay in my bed." "No, since you don't hate me, that means you like me, so let me stay here." Yin Shua hugged her tightly and acted coquettishly. Su Qianqian closed her eyes with a headache. I don't know why, but Yin Shua seems to be particularly affectionate and gentle tonight, but also particularly clingy. He even has the dignity to act so humbly and act like a spoiled child to her. This is totally unlike him in the past.
But
I definitely can't let Yin Shua lie in the same bed with me tonight. This guy changes his face every few days. Who knows what tricks he will play behind my back this time. Su Qianqian calmed herself down, finally got up and said, "If you don't leave, I will." She stood up. She was restrained by the arms behind her and easily pulled back into his arms. The hot chest instantly pressed against her back. "Qianqian, I feel uncomfortable." The man's deep voice was tinged with hoarseness and sounded both lustful and wild. Author's note: the wonderful content of this chapter has been deleted beyond recognition. The ellipsis marks are basically the deleted content. But the smart boy has already opened the comment section. Uncomfortable? Su Qianqian paused and subconsciously looked back at him. Where do you feel uncomfortable? I don't know. Inshua hugged her from the side, buried his head in her neck, and said in a muffled voice. As he spoke, he rubbed the side of her neck. Su Qianqian pursed her lips helplessly and could only reach out and touch his forehead, which was indeed very hot. Do you have a fever? Oh, click me, it's no wonder. He had a fever after spending so much time in the water during the day. As Su Qianqian was thinking, the man's breath suddenly approached, and he panted twice in her ear. Qianqian, I really feel uncomfortable. Can you help me, please? The man pressed against her back was obviously. Su Qianqian was frightened and suddenly realized the possible danger, and hurriedly. But as soon as she moved forward, the man's big, slender hand immediately grabbed her soft waist and held her down, preventing her from moving at all. Su Qianqian felt inexplicably nervous, and she asked tentatively, Inshua, is your period coming? She remembered that Lang Yan had said before that male orcs would go through a mating period every once in a while. That time, some of the orcs' emotions and behaviors would become difficult to control, which explains why Inshua behaved so strangely tonight. The man behind her buried his head in her neck and said nothing, but Su Qianqian could clearly hear him. The orcs should be difficult to suppress. Su Qianqian recalled that when Lang Yan was in the first stage of the attack, such a self-controlled and determined person was tortured by the attack and could not control himself. He completely lost his mind and overwhelmed her. If Lang Yan had not woken up in time that night, she would have already. Thinking of this, Su Qianqian couldn't help but sigh and ask softly, How do you want me to help you? Atitip. After a while, Inshua lay beside her with a satisfied look on his face. The superior and smooth jawline and the slightly drooping silver-gray hair still slightly damp exude a sense of laziness everywhere. Su Qianqian rubbed her sore hands, and when she was finally about to breathe a sigh of relief, Inshua stretched out his calloused fingertips and gently brushed her cheek, fiddling with the loose hair on her forehead. He asked casually, Qianqian, when is your due date? As he spoke, his fingers slid across her. Intentionally or unintentionally, Su Qianqian's body suddenly stiffened. What else do you want to do? Don't be nervous, Qianqian. He tilted his head slightly, his handsome features seemed to be smiling, without a single flaw, so beautiful that it made one's throat dry. I just wanted to help you. He emphasized the word, help you. Su Qianqian subconsciously shrank back, but her eyes couldn't help but glance down. She reacted and tried to escape, but the man grabbed her slender waist and pulled her back under him. Don't run away. The person behind her was unhurried, breathing softly into her ear with his lips and tongue. A while. Su Qianqian was so tired that her body was as soft as a puddle of mud. She could only let the man hold her waist and snuggle on his chest. Inshua looked at the girl lying on his chest, and his chest was gradually filled with tenderness. His heart felt warm and comfortable, and the warmth flowed to his limbs like a warm current. Qianqian, tell me what kind of poison you gave me that made me not want to leave you for a moment. He couldn't help but bite her lips lightly, and a pleasant and hoarse sound escaped from his sexy thin lips. Qianqian, help me one more time, okay? Su Qianqian. Is it okay? However, somewhere not far outside the house, a pair of eyes burning with murderous intent quietly appeared in the darkness. He looked at everything he found in the room, his usually calm black eyes turned almost scarlet, stained with a thick layer of blood. Crack, the 5 fingers tightened inch by inch, and the birch bark box filled with soil was ruthlessly crushed, turned into powder, and floated in the air. The next day, early morning, the sunlight shines in through the open windows, casting mottled shadows. Lying on the bed, slowly opened her eyes. When she saw the sunlight coming in from the window, she was stunned for a moment. It's new now? No. How come she slept for so long? Her reason gradually returned. She suddenly realized something and quickly looked to her side. No one. Su Qianqian suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, there was no one. Otherwise, she didn't know how to face that guy Inshua. When Su Qianqian thought of what she did last night, her cheeks couldn't help but turn red. She was simply out of her mind. How could she agree to Yin Shua's request? In the end, although my innocence was preserved, but this guy was like a for pleasure, and in the second half of the night, he asked her to help him twice more. He said he would be gentler, but in the end, the skin on his fingers was rubbed red. Thinking of this, Su Qianqian couldn't help but feel so angry that her teeth were itching. She must not let this guy mess around again next time. She got out of bed, changed her clothes, washed up, and left the room. The sun outside had indeed risen directly above my head, and I really slept until noon. At this time, Shanmao happened to pass by with a few boxes of soap. Su Qianqian called him. Shanmao, you. She paused, but still asked, have you seen that guy in Shua? He went to the river early in the morning. Shanmao didn't seem surprised at all that she suddenly asked about In Shua and pointed to the river in the distance. Upon hearing this, Su Qianqian subconsciously looked towards the river. What was that guy doing at the river so early in the morning? Oh, by the way, Chief Su, Brother Shifang, and the others want to see you about something, Bobcat suddenly said. He lowered his head, and suddenly, he didn't dare to look at her. Even the tips of his ears turned slightly red. They originally came to look for you this morning, but In Shua stopped them. He said that you were very tired last night and needed to rest, Su Qianqian. I really want to tear his nonsense mouth apart. After a long while, she took a deep breath and said to Shanmao, I understand. Go ahead and do your work. I'll go find Shifang and the others now.
Yeah.
Bobcat nodded, lowered his head, and left quickly. That back figure inexplicably had the intention of running away. Su Qianqian covered her head helplessly. Well, now even if she said she was innocent, I was afraid no one would believe her, right? After taking a few deep breaths, Su Qianqian suppressed her emotions and went to find Shifang and the others. It's noon now, time for lunch. Su Qianqian went straight to the kitchen and saw Shifang preparing lunch, with Nanhua helping him. The two of them worked together in an orderly and harmonious manner. Except for a man next to him, who was jumping up and down in the kitchen with a lively look on his face. Hey, Shifang, did you say this dish is Qianqian's favorite? Can you teach me how to make it? Hey, Nanwu, do you think this black potato was also taken out by Qianqian? And this. Shifang and Nanwu were both so annoyed that they looked dead. When they saw Su Qianqian come in, they immediately looked at her for help. Cough, cough. Su Qianqian coughed lightly and walked over. Shifang, Shanmao said you have something to talk to me about. She deliberately ignored the fiery gazes from the side and asked Shifang directly. Shifang opened his mouth and was about to speak, but he caught a glimpse of a man beside him with a look of disappointment and lowered his head. He finally sighed helplessly. Forget it, let us eat first, and we'll talk after we finish eating. We had lunch in the kitchen. In the past, the orcs in the tribe would gather together to eat. It was bustling and noisy, and Su Qianqian thought that was too inconvenient. Following her suggestion, now everyone eats at their own home. Anyway, everyone's cooking skills have become better and better, so there is no need to worry about just roasting some dried meat like before. Several people sat around the stone table. As soon as Su Qianqian sat down, In Shua came over with a smile and pushed Nanwu, who was sitting next to her, away. Duent, just stand there. Eat quickly. He took Nanwu's seat as if it was a matter of course, and after sitting down, he kept picking up food for Su Qianqian. Qianqian, this is your favorite dish. I'll help you pick up more. And this is also your favorite, right? I'll put it in front of you. Several people nearby watched, holding the chopsticks in their hands, their fingers stiff, unable to move. Was sitting on the other side of Su Qianqian, couldn't help it, turned his head and asked her in a low voice, what happened between you and him last night? In Shua was so excited when he got up in the morning, jumping here and there. His face was about to break with laughter. I almost suspected that he was possessed by Huyang. He didn't look like himself at all. Shu Qianqian. Nothing. After a pause, she added, his old illness has recurred. Don't bother with him. After saying that, she turned her head and glared at In Shua beside her, her eyes full of warning, as if to say, If you continue to be so ostentatious, I will kick you out. After being glared at by her, Inshua suddenly remembered the girl lying soft in his arms last night, with tears in her eyes, staring at him with such angry and resentful eyes, and his body immediately went numb. He coughed lightly and quickly turned his head away to suppress the heat rising in his heart. The dinner table finally became quiet. But it was eerily quiet. Su Qianqian had just taken a few bites of food when she felt a burning gaze staring at her. It was sticky and lingering, sometimes on her lips as she opened her mouth to eat, and sometimes on her fingers holding the chopsticks. It kept coming and going, over and over again, but it would not leave. Su Qianqian's scalp tingled when she was stared at. Finally, she couldn't help but look up and glare at the man next to her. But as soon as Yin Shuo met her gaze, his eyes felt like they were pricked by needles. He immediately looked away and pretended to be obedient, concentrating on eating. But Su Qianqian did not miss the red tips of his ears and the back of his neck. What on earth is this guy thinking about in broad daylight? How can you eat properly when your mind is full of those filthy things? Su Qianqian took 2 deep breaths and suppressed her annoyance. Now, in front of Shi Yuan and the others, she was embarrassed to mention what happened last night. After dinner, she would definitely teach this guy a lesson. After dinner, Su Qianqian left the kitchen quickly without waiting for Shi Fang to say anything. She had to solve the problem of Yin Shuo first. As soon as she left, Yin Shuo got up and chased after her. Qianqian, why did you only eat so little? Is the food not to your taste? Su Qianqian didn't bother to pay attention to him and went straight back to her room. Yin Shuo chased him all the way, and just when he reached the door of the house, the door slammed shut, locking him outside tightly. From now on, you are not allowed to step into my room again. Su Qianqian's voice came from behind the door.
Why?
Yin Shuo felt aggrieved upon hearing this and hurriedly said, Qianqian, did I do something wrong last night that made you angry?
I'm sorry.
This is my first time too. If my actions were rude and made you feel uncomfortable, I apologize, but you can't ignore me. Su Qianqian. First? The technique is so proficient the first time? Are you kidding me? Su Qianqian gritted her teeth and said, Anyway, you are not allowed to climb into my bed at night, and you are not allowed to do that kind of thing when I'm not paying attention. But Yin Shuo's aggrieved and pitiful voice came from outside the door. What should I do if I don't come to you when my next estrus period comes? Solve it yourself. Su Qianqian said, gritting her teeth. Qianqian, please forgive me. Next time, I will find someone to teach me the skills, and I promise not to hurt you. Shu Qianqian. Who do you want to find? Of course I'm looking for you. The person outside the door said as if it was a matter of course. Who else can I look for? Su Qianqian. There was suddenly silence outside the door. Su Qianqian heard the footsteps moving and turned her head suddenly. She saw the window next to her was suddenly pushed open from the outside, and Yin Shuo came in from the outside with his back bent. He was fast and accurate. When Su Qianqian reacted and tried to stop him, it was too late, and she was pushed against the wall by him. Qianqian, he buried his head in her neck and rubbed it like he did last night, his thin lips pressed against her sensitive earlobe, and whispered softly, Don't worry, I won't look for anyone else, I will only look for you. Su Qianqian turned her head slightly, trying to avoid the ambiguous and hot breath, but the other party pinched her chin and turned her face back, forcing her to look him in the eye. Qianqian, you are the first and only female that I, Yin Shuo, like. I don't want anyone else except you. You know, in the beast world, once a male identifies a female, he will stay with her wholeheartedly and never leave her. As Yin Shuo spoke, his fingers uncontrollably touched the corners of the girl's lips, again and again, stroking them gently with his fingertips, while saying, I don't want the position of city lord anymore, and I won't force you to find a partner anymore. I just want to stay by your side forever. Wherever you go, I'll go. If you insist on sending me away, then I can only die in front of you. The author has something to say. Regarding the plot of the previous chapter, it was indeed a bit explosive. I've been honest. Original 3,000 word chapter was reduced to 1,000 words. I can't help it. The last sentence almost in a fierce tone. Su Qianqian was suddenly stunned. She was about to speak. Yin Shua covered her lips with his hands. He stared at her with deep eyes, his expression extremely solemn, and said word by word, I, Yin Shua, swear by the beast god that I will never betray Su Qianqian, stay by her side forever, and never force her to do anything she doesn't want to do. Su Qianqian took his hand away and said, words are not enough. This guy changes every day. He used to want to imprison her every day, and now he uses all kinds of tricks on her, and even climbs into her bed in various ways at night. Since you don't believe it, let's make a vow of companionship. After saying this, Yin Shua leaned over, opened his mouth, grabbed her finger, and bit it hard. Su Qianqian was caught off guard and felt her fingertips bleeding. The blood dyed the corners of Yin Shua's lips red, making his handsome face even more charming and beautiful. Then he leaned over, his forehead against hers, his silver-gray eyes staring at her steadily. His eyelashes were long and thick, but there was a mysterious and deep light flashing in them. Su Qianqian only felt a strong breath coming from the place where their foreheads touched, pouring into her body, flowing into her limbs, and finally gathering at her wrist. My wrists are itchy. She subconsciously lowered her eyes and saw a light-colored mark on her right wrist.
Could this be?
This is our partnership contract. Yin Shua pulled his forehead away and said, although we are not yet truly partners, the color of this mark is still very light, but with it, you can decide my life and death in the future. If one day I betray you, this contract mark will also punish me. How dare you make a decision on your own again? Su Qianqian gritted her teeth and pushed the man who was pressing on her away. I don't want this partnership contract.
Take it back.
No way. Yin Shua came closer again with a thick face. Once this companionship contract is planted, the mark will not disappear unless I die. Shuqianqian, punto. Isn't this a form of bullying? She remembered that Jillian had told her about this kind of partnership contract before. Once it was planted, it would exist forever, and the mark would only disappear if the male died. This contract is blessed by the beast god and symbolizes the eternal loyalty of the male to the female. Su Qianqian let out a long breath. She originally thought that beast men had to form a couple before they could form a contract. She didn't expect that this would work. This should be like an engagement ceremony before marriage, right? However, the color of this mark is really light, very light, much lighter than the mark on Jillian's wrist. As if seeing through her thoughts, Yin Shua chuckled and said in her ear, it doesn't matter if the color is a little lighter now. When we become a couple in the future, the more affectionate we are at night, the darker the color of the mark will be. Su Qianqian. Love you, you big head ghost. But Yin Shua rubbed her cheek again. Qianqian, you can't get hurt in the future, otherwise I will die.
Who can be blamed for this?
Su Qianqian raised her eyes and glared at him fiercely. Once the companion contract is signed, if the female is injured or dies, the male will also suffer corresponding serious damage. The stronger males can still barely survive, but the weaker males will die along with the females because of the companion contract. Now she has an extra life. Yin Shua buried his head in her shoulder and laughed softly. Who made me like you so much? I can't bear to leave you at all. If something happens to you, what's the point of me living? As he spoke, he looked away and scanned the entire house. The windows were wide open, letting in the sunlight. The bed was neatly made, with no trace of the mess from last night. He was slightly disappointed, but in the blink of an eye, he smiled and said, Qianqian, can I stay in your tribe and accompany you forever? No. Su Qianqian pushed him away again, her expression becoming serious. If you hang around in my tribe all the time, what will happen to your Wanshou City? You are the lord of Wanshou City now. You can't just leave Wanshou City alone and not manage it. But if I can't be with you, then the position of the lord of Wanshou City is meaningless to me. I don't want to be the lord of Wanshou City at all. Yin Shua was distressed. Why don't we let Lord Shijue be the lord of Wanshou City? He has a big vision and foresight, and he will definitely be able to govern Wanshou City well. Su Qianqian glanced at him. Then you chased him away before? I did something wrong before. Inshua started to act coquettishly against her neck again. Qian, please don't be angry about what happened before, okay? I really know I was wrong. Su Qian was too lazy to push him away this time, and just said calmly, since you know you are wrong, then go and invite Master Shijue back. Okay. Inshua immediately stood up when he heard this and said, Lord Shijue is in the Silver Eagle tribe. Although the Silver Eagle tribe is a bit far from the Beast City, if I rush there with all my strength, I can be back in 3 or 4 days. Qian, you have to wait for me to come back.
Qian nodded.
Okay, go ahead. After this conversation and mediation, Inshua finally left reluctantly. As soon as he left, Shifeng, Nanwu, and others could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Although Inshua left, the large boxes of betrothal gifts he left behind are still kept in the tribe. Then what should we do with these things? Shi Yuan patted a few large stone boxes, which were filled with animal skins and animal crystals. This betrothal gift was very generous in the entire Beast World continent, and few people could afford it. Su Qian waved her hand and put all the boxes into the storage ring. Give them back to Inshua when he comes back. Anyway, she would not accept these things before they really became a couple. Shi Yuan couldn't help but glance at the beast mark left on Su Qian's wrist, and then sighed helplessly. Inshua is such a pitiful kid. The road to chasing my wife is quite long. After thinking about it, he looked towards the distant mountains and murmured, I don't know when that kid Mian Tian will come back. It's been 2 months. At the same time, the other side, Inshua had just transformed into a beast and flew out of the 10,000 Beasts tribe when he was hit by a sudden ball of faint blue fire before he was halfway through his flight. The blue fire came too strangely and too fast. Inshua, who was always known as the overlord of the sky, was unable to dodge it. After being hit, he fell straight from the sky and hit the ground. A pitch-black hole was burned through the silver-gray wings. Inshua grimaced in pain. He could only transform back into human form and look up at the person standing not far away. The man was wearing a linen long gown and long pants. He was tall and slender, with black hair and black eyes. His eyebrows and eyes were very beautiful. His eyes drooped, and he looked lazy. Inshua was sure that he did not know this person and had never offended such a master. His eyes fell on the boy's hands. His 5 fingers were slightly clenched, and in his palms there was a cluster of faint blue fire that burned slowly, like a lotus. He didn't know what the blue flame was, but even from a distance he could feel an extremely terrifying high temperature, as if it could burn a person to ashes in an instant. Who are you, and why did you attack me? Inshua asked with a frown. You are not worthy of knowing who I am. Mian Tian moved, took big steps, and slowly walked towards Inshua. As he approached, Inshua felt an unprecedented, powerful pressure. This pressure made people feel uncontrollably frightened and trembling. Inshua gritted his teeth and used all his strength to resist the pressure, but his knees still became weak, his bones creaked, and he fell heavily to the ground. Inshua frowned. Under such powerful pressure, his chest felt heavy as if he was suffocating, and he couldn't help but spurt out a mouthful of blood from the corner of his mouth. However, the next second, Mian Tian reached out and grabbed his throat and slowly said, The position of the Lord of Wanshou City is given to you, but you should not touch her. Hearing this, Inshua reacted and immediately looked at the person in front of him. The young man standing against the light looked like a demon from purgatory, evil and arrogant.
She?
Inshua sneered and spat out the blood in his mouth. Don't even think about her. She's mine. And we are now a couple. Today. As soon as these words came out, the young man's black eyes, which were filled with anger, were instantly filled with scarlet murderous intent, and the strength of his hand twisting his neck was frightening, as if he could break his neck in the next second. The increasingly thin air made people feel suffocated, and veins on their foreheads bulged. But Inshua was not afraid at all at this moment. He stared fiercely at the boy's black eyes, gritted his teeth, and repeated word by word. She is mine forever. No one can take it away. As Inshua continued to provoke him, The boy's black eyes gradually turned red until they became a pair of vertical pupils as red as blood beads. He could no longer hold back the murderous intent on his face and fiercely threw Inshuo out. Boom! With a loud bang, a big hole was smashed on the ground and dust filled the air. Inshuo lay in the pit with bruises all over his body. He felt that the bones in his hands and feet were all broken, and he could hardly move at all. She won't be yours. But the boy still didn't let him go. He walked towards him step by step, like a ghost. I'll just make you disappear from this world. Inshuo gritted his teeth and glared at him fiercely. Even if you kill me, it doesn't matter. She will never belong to you. Who said I would kill you? Mian Tian grabbed his neck again, lifted him up gently as if he were carrying an object, and said expressionlessly, You left your mark on her. If I kill you, she will know. I'm not that stupid. What do you want to do? Inshuo was stunned for a moment and had a bad feeling. I said, I will make you disappear from this beast world forever, and you will never see her again. Mian Tian held Inshuo's neck with one hand and slowly stretched out the other hand, tearing a crack in the space in front of him. Seeing the space crack that Mian Tian had torn out with his bare hands, the crack was deep and dark, and no one knew where it led to. Inshuo finally showed some fear in his eyes. What on earth do you want to do? Mian Tian curled his lips slightly, but there was no smile on his face, and his voice was cold. You said you didn't come back for a long time. What would she think? She would think you didn't keep your promise and left in anger. Even if you left the mark of the beast on her, it doesn't matter. You will never see her again, and she will gradually forget you. You dare. Hearing this, Inshuo finally couldn't help but roared, his teeth chattering. Put me down. Don't even think about alienating our relationship. He struggled desperately regardless of the pain all over his body, but no matter how hard he struggled, he was just a fish in Mian Tian's hands, ready to be slaughtered at any time, and he was completely unable to escape. This was the first time in his life that someone had grabbed his neck without any resistance. He hated this feeling of powerlessness and hated his own incompetence even more. Looking at the space crack that was just around the corner, Inshuo clenched his fists until they creaked. You'd better kill me. Otherwise the day I come back will be the day you die. As the space crack slowly closed, Inshuo's last howl completely disappeared into the air. After a while, Mian Tian looked at the blood stains on his knuckles and frowned in disgust. Then a faint blue flame lit up, and the scorching heat burned away all the blood stains. He glanced at the tribe hidden in the forest of beasts in the distance. His scarlet eyes gradually calmed down and faded into black. All beasts. Don't think about it. It's only been 2 months. Mian Tian is probably still on his way back. Nan Wu patted Shi Yuan on the shoulder and joked, You used to fight with him for a pair of deerskin boots. Now you miss him so much after not seeing him for only 2 months? No, I'm just thinking about Su Mu. Shi Yuan said stubbornly. He glanced at Su Qianqian and joked, Su Mu, do you miss Mian Tian too? Su Qianqian glanced at him and said helplessly, I miss you very much. I want him to quickly bring back the soil from the misty forest so that I can give an explanation to the God Realm. Oh, by the way, Shifeng, you asked Shan Mao to tell me something important before. What is it? Su Qianqian asked. That's it. Shifeng had just opened his mouth when Shi Yuan beside him suddenly shouted, Mian Tian? Mian Tian, you are finally back. He rushed forward. Su Qianqian looked over and saw that it was indeed Mian Tian who had returned. But why do I feel like he's a little different? Wow, Mian Tian, it's only been 2 months since we last met. How come you've grown so much taller? Shi Yuan looked at the tall man in front of him. His face was still the same, with black hair and black eyes, but he had grown a lot taller. The immaturity between his eyebrows was completely gone, and his temperament seemed increasingly cold and deep, with an indescribable sense of oppression. Said, lightly, and then strode towards Su Qianqian. Su Qianqian was also shocked by Mian Tian's appearance at this moment. In the past, one could say that he was a teenager of 15 or 16 years old, but now he looks tall, with long legs, broad shoulders, and a narrow waist, just like an adult man in his early 20s. You just said, you missed me. Neon Tion looked at her steadily, his deep eyes gleaming with a tiny glimmer, as if he was expecting something. Author's note: the previous chapters were reviewed again, and a lot of content was deleted. Now it has been completed. Those who followed the update last night can start from the first 2 chapters. Su Qianqian paused, then smiled and said, "Yes, of course I miss you. How have you been doing outside these past 2 months?" "I'm fine." Neon Tion nodded. "I've finished all the food you gave me." "Really?" Su Qianqian looked at his height. No wonder he grew so tall all of a sudden. Neon Tion was now much taller than her and closer to her, so she needed to raise her head slightly to see his face clearly. The men in the beast world are all taller than each other. She was not considered a short person in her original world. She had lived in the countryside since she was a child and often helped with farm work. Her body had been exercised for a long time, so her height and physique were considered top-notch among ordinary people. But when she came to this beast world, she became a dwarf in front of a man who was nearly 2 meters tall. "I brought back what you wanted." Neon Tion spread out his right hand, his palm facing up, as white as jade. A birch bark box appeared out of thin air in his palm. "This is the soil of the misty forest." Su Qianqian looked at the palm-sized box and asked uncertainly, "It's only this small?" Neon Tion shook his head and waved his right hand gently, and several large birch bark boxes appeared at Su Qianqian's feet. When I opened it, I saw it was full of soil from the misty forest. "So many!" Su Qianqian was surprised. Then she looked up at Miantian, her eyebrows curved, and she smiled and said, "Thank you, Xiaomian." Under the pale skylight, the girl smiled faintly, and the warmth and comfort that melted the ice and snow was like a spring breeze. My chest felt like someone had punched me, and it was numb. "You're welcome." After a long time, he pursed his lips and looked away awkwardly. Shi Yuan, who was standing nearby, came over and stared at the soil in the birch bark box and asked curiously, "Hey Sumo, why did you ask Miantian to go all the way to the misty forest to get this soil? What is the use of this soil?" Su Qianqian smiled mysteriously. "You will know later." With a wave of her hand, she put all the boxes filled with surprises into the storage ring. "With these soils, I can go to the plane system at night to find the big boss from the divine plane." Then, she turned to look at Shifeng and said, "Shifeng, continue talking about what you just said." "No one should interrupt now." Shifeng sighed, as if he was exhausted by the repeated interruptions, and said, "It's not a big deal. It's just that the blades for cutting birch bark that you distributed to everyone a few days ago were lost in the mountains." Su Qianqian was stunned when she heard this. Lost? To be precise, it was taken away by a mysterious force. Nanwu next to him added, "Mysterious power?" Su Qianqian widened her eyes in shock. Could it be that some strange and supernatural thing really happened on the mountain? "We tried to retrieve the blades, but there seemed to be some mysterious force holding them back. We didn't dare to move and returned." Su Qianqian felt a slight chill on her back after hearing what was said. She originally didn't believe in these weird things, but since she traveled to this beast world, she has seen things like the plane trading system, superpowers, and beast gods, all of which are bizarre and absurd, which made her believe that there are actually many weird things in this world. "I don't believe it." As if sensing Su Qianqian's fear, Neon Tion stood up and said, "I'll go to the mountain to take a look. Maybe someone has used supernatural powers to create an illusion to confuse and scare you." Su Qianqian calmed down immediately after hearing this. "You're right. Maybe some orcs deliberately came here to scare you. I'll go take a look too." "What are you doing? Are you going to the mountain?" "I want to go too." The voice of the Great, which came from behind. Several people turned their heads to look and saw the Great Witch of West City walking over with Xiaojiu. Recently, the Great Witch can be said to be living in harmony in the tribe. From time to time, he would accompany the orcs in the tribe to the mountains to help them keep watch. When he came back at night, he would collect all kinds of beautiful flowers and grasses for Xiaojiu. It was hard to imagine that a man of his age was still so childish. "You're finally back." Shi Yuan walked over quickly. "You're a great wizard with the strength of the 7th level. You must go up the mountain with us. If we really encounter any danger, you can help us." "Okay, I will protect you." The great wizard nodded, but his eyes moved away from Shi Yuan and fell on Mian Tian, who was not far behind him. He was almost stunned for a moment. Oh, I forgot to introduce him. He is the Mian Tian I mentioned to you before. Shi Yuan saw this and hurriedly introduced him. He is the slave that Sumu picked up a few months ago.
Slave?
The great wizard paused, and his gaze towards Mian Tian suddenly became mysterious and deep. So he is a slave. Nice to meet you, nice to meet you. He curled his lips and deliberately emphasized the word, slave. Facing the great wizard's meaningful gaze, Mian Tian looked back expressionlessly, his brows calm and unperturbed. After a while, he uttered 2 words, nice to meet you. Su Qianqian noticed that something was wrong between the two of them and hurriedly said, Oh, stop talking, let's go up the mountain and see what's going on. As she spoke, she poked the witch with her elbow calmly and said in a low voice, You may not be able to call Xiaomian a slave anymore. Everyone in our tribe is equal, and there is no such thing as slavery. Okay, I won't call him a slave. The great wizard chuckled and nodded in response, but his eyes glanced at Mian Tian opposite him. His face, originally as calm as a deep pool, suddenly became a little sinister the moment he saw Su Qianqian approaching the great wizard and whispering to him. But when Su Qianqian looked over, the haze between his brows disappeared instantly, and he smiled and said, While it's still early, let's go up the mountain as soon as possible. Okay, let us go. The presence of 2 powerful men, Mian Tian and Wu, Su Qianqian no longer had the fear she had just felt, and she took the lead in heading up the mountain. Several people followed silently behind. Along the way, whether intentionally or unintentionally, Mian Tian and Shiqing Dao slowed down their pace and deliberately walked at the end of the crowd. I know when the city lord became a slave. The great wizard glanced at the gloomy man beside him and said with a sneer. Mian Tian glanced at him coldly and said, Watch your mouth. If you say anything you shouldn't, I'll make sure you die a more miserable death than that great witch from North City. Hearing this, the great wizard of West City couldn't help but stiffen for a moment. However, Mian Tian had already taken a big step forward, and in the blink of an eye he was standing beside the girl in front of him. The great wizard lowered his head in silence, his eyes cold and grim. As expected, even though he was disguised as a slave, he was still the murderous and brutal city lord. Su Qianqian followed Shifeng and his companions across 2 hills and finally found the mysterious place he mentioned. That's it. Shi Yuan pointed to the stone wall in front of him and said, Look, our blades are still stuck on it. That's it. Su Qianqian looked at the bare stone wall in front of her with a look of confusion, on which were several daggers and knives. She walked forward, ignoring the attempts of the 10 people to stop her, and easily removed the knife that was attracted to it. She then stared at the exposed stone wall for a few seconds, then turned back to the people with a helpless look and said, This is not some mysterious power. The knife is attracted to it because it is a magnet. The magnet is actually a kind of highly magnetic iron ore. Since the tribe had consumed too many bone blades before, she simply bought an iron dagger knife for the orcs in the plains system and asked them to use it to cut birch bark. Iron knives are more convenient than bone blades, more wear-resistant, and easy for everyone to use. But the iron in iron knives is also a magnetic metal and can be absorbed by any strong magnetic iron ore. Thinking of this, Su Qianqian suddenly paused. The presence of a magnet here, does that mean there is a large amount of iron ore? You all stand back. Su Qianqian shouted loudly, then took out 2 grenades from the storage ring. When everyone saw her take out 2 black objects, they immediately retreated dozens of steps away. They have seen the power of this thing. It can cause a very big and loud explosion. Su Qianqian pulled out the fuse and threw the grenade. With a loud boom, the entire ground shook and a huge hole was blown open in the stone wall in front. The smoke dissipated. Su Qianqian walked closer and took a look and found that it was indeed a mine. There are not only iron ore, but also gold mine. Scent. Get rich. Su Qianqian was so excited that she almost jumped up. With iron, We can develop iron smelting technology, create more powerful and convenient iron tools, and completely get rid of the current Stone Age. And with gold, it can produce a magical thing that changes an era: electricity. To have electricity, it means that the industrial age can begin. She can take things out of the system mall continuously. If she wants to change an era, she cannot do it alone, and everyone must get involved. She can provide theoretical knowledge and allow all orcs to work together to develop and create and build a tribe as powerful as an empire. It's just, she studied medicine in college and doesn't know much about industrial electrical appliances. Therefore, this matter still needs to be planned in the long term and done slowly. On the way back to the tribe, Fong and his companions were confused as they watched Su Qianqian jumping all the way, barely able to contain her excitement and joy. What happened? How come their Su chief became like this after throwing two black things? Also, what did she mean by the magnet? Is it because of this magnet that their knives are attracted? After returning to the tribe, Su Qianqian didn't have time to explain anything to Fong and the others. She quickly returned to the house and closed the door. She first took a deep breath, suppressed her inner excitement, then opened the plane system. Putting the iron or issue aside for the moment, she first resolved the matter of the divine realm. Opening the chat bar of her plane friend, she first politely said hello. The opponent replied almost immediately. The soil was collected so quickly? Su Qianqian also quickly replied, "Yes, that's right. Actually, it's not that fast. 2 months have passed between the divine world and the beast world. If 2 months pass on her side, it would probably only take the time of drinking a cup of tea on the other side." Afterwards, Su Qianqian collected her thoughts and typed, "How much soil do you need?" As for this, after thinking for a moment, he said, "Give me as much as you have. Of course, the more the better, as Lingji likes more. Don't worry, I won't treat you unfairly. As long as Xiao Lingji is happy, just ask for as many star coins as you want." When Su Qianqian saw the last sentence, her eyes lit up almost instantly. But she still suppressed her excitement and replied modestly, "You are too polite. This soil is not worth much. Why do you want star coins? This is a big shot in the divine realm. If you can use these worthless soils to make friends with a big shot in the divine realm, that would be the most profitable." Su Qianqian quickly took out the soil that Mian Tian brought back and routinely checked the price using the plane system. Ding! The soil of the Beast World continent has been detected. Reference price: none. None? When Su Qianqian saw this reference price, she was stunned for a moment. What does it mean? Is the soil of the Beast World continent so cheap that even the plane system is unwilling to put a price on it? She curled her lips in frustration. The system of this plane really discriminated against different people. If it were the spiritual soil of the cultivation plane, it would probably be worth millions of star coins. Forget it. If it's not valuable, then it's not valuable. Anyway, she was not prepared to ask for a huge amount of money. Su Qianqian calmed down and sent over several large boxes of soil. The other side showed that it had received the message the next second. Wow, so many! The other party seemed very happy. The system here doesn't give a reference price. How many star coins do you want as a reward? Tell me. Su Qianqian was silent. The system didn't give a reference price, so she couldn't ask for a price. It wouldn't work if she asked too much or too little. If she made the other person unhappy, she wouldn't be able to make friends with this person from the divine plane. She simply kicked the ball to the other party. This soil is not worth much. You can just give it to me. How can you say that these soils are worthless? They made the little Lingji feel like he was back home. The other party replied, "How about this as a reward for the transaction? You can pick anything you like from my merchandise shelf and take it away, because the plane system has clear regulations. No matter how cheap or expensive something is, it cannot be given to others for free. It must be purchased with star coins, or it can be exchanged for something through barter." Su Qianqian did not ask for a price, so the merchants in the divine realm could only pay her through the ladder. At this moment, Su Qianqian, who saw the second half of the sentence, was already stunned and replied incredulously, You really want me to pick anything at random, no matter how expensive it is?" Pick whatever you want. Don't feel any pressure. The things on the shelf are commonplace in our god realm. They are worthless to me, and not as valuable as the alien soil you brought. After receiving an affirmative response from the other party, Su Qianqian swallowed hard and hurriedly opened the other party's product shelf. What comes into view is the dazzling array of merchandise sparkling with sacred golden light, with the price of almost every item starting at hundreds of billions. Su Qianqian widened her eyes and dared not breathe, fearing that what she saw was an illusion. At the last auction, such as ginseng fruit, Queen Mother's peaches, are filled to the brim on this shelf, with no limit on the purchase quantity. Su Qianqian couldn't imagine how rich the merchants in the god realm were. The star coins she earned from selling just one item were more than she could ever earn in her entire life. Gradually moving the line of sight downward, she also saw some legendary artifacts, such as the panga banner used by Yuanshi Tianzuan, the Zhuxian sword left over from ancient times, the purple ribbon clothes woven by Jiutian Xiannu, the Dinghai divine pearl from the Dragon King of the East China Sea, and the Finghua cushion that Taishang Laojun sat on. Su Qianqian was almost overwhelmed by the sight and was amazed. With so many divine objects, she felt the absurdity and wonder of myths shining into reality. After taking a few deep breaths, Su Qianqian barely suppressed her inner excitement.
Stay calm.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to choose one from so many treasures and magical objects. You can't make any mistakes. However, among so many treasures, there were not many that she liked. After all, these are all legendary divine objects, and there is no great use for them to her. The biggest function of things like ginseng fruit and peaches is to increase one's lifespan. She now has 1,000 years of lifespan, which she cannot use up. Eating these things is a pure waste. There are also those ancient divine objects, fairy clothes, and dragon balls. Although they make people greedy just by looking at them, she is just a mortal with flesh and blood. She can't bear such divine power at all. If she touches them, she will probably end up being reduced to ashes. And even if you really pick a high-priced item, it is not cost-effective to resell it at a low price unless the plain system holds another auction. But auctions are something that you can only come across by chance, and we don't know when the next one will be held. Therefore, Su Qianqian secretly warned herself that she must not be dazzled by these magical objects, but must act within her means and choose the one that is most useful and worthwhile for her at the moment. Su Qianqian moved her eyes downwards, continuing to look under the shelf until she saw something, the magical spring of the fairyland. Su Qianqian's eyes lit up instantly. Not long ago, she had been saving money to buy a mid-level spiritual spring in the cultivation plain, the one worth 800 million star coins. After these 2 months, all the beast crystals on her shelves have been sold, and the balance in her account now exceeds 800 million star coins. Originally, she was thinking of going to that big shot in the world of cultivation to buy the spiritual spring after she had resolved the matter in the divine realm. But when she saw this fairyland spiritual spring worth tens of trillions, the intermediate spiritual spring that Su Qianqian had been thinking about was instantly forgotten. With this fairyland spiritual spring worth tens of trillions, why do we still need those intermediate-level spiritual springs worth hundreds of millions? Su Qianqian sucked her saliva and quickly clicked on the product called Fairyland Spirit Spring. Unexpectedly, this Fairyland Spiritual Spring is just a general term which covers all the spiritual springs in the divine world. This divine plane is worthy of its name. There are many types of spiritual springs for sale, and each type of spiritual spring water has a name, unlike the cultivation plane, which only divides the spiritual spring water into several grades. Su Qianqian looked at a few of them at random. These spiritual spring waters from the divine world are not only expensive, but each one also has special effects. For example, this divine spring called Biluo Xianquan is a fairyland spring suspended above the 9 heavens. The water is as clear as a mirror, reflecting the stars. Drinking from this spring regularly can cleanse your marrow and bones and help you ascend to heaven. It is the divine spring that thousands of immortal cultivators dream of. There is also this one called Jiutian nectar. This spring is like nectar. Drinking it can transform one's body, keep one young forever, and achieve an immortal body. It is the supreme treasure of the god realm. There is also this one called Brahma Sound Spiritual Spring, which is a sacred spring from the Western world of gods and Buddhas. When the spring water flows, it will emit Sanskrit sounds, which can purify the mind, eliminate distracting thoughts, help people enter a meditative state, and comprehend the Dharma. The more Su Qianqian read, the more surprised and excited she became. The effects of these divine springs and immortal springs are more miraculous than the other, and their prices are more expensive than the other. They are simply not comparable to the low-level spiritual springs in the world of cultivation. The spiritual spring water in the world of cultivation is at best just spring water with richer spiritual energy, but the divine spring water in the world of gods has existed for hundreds of thousands of years. It is located above the 9 heavens and has been nurtured by immortal energy and divine power for tens of millions of years. Su Qianqian has already made up her mind to choose a fairyland spiritual spring, but she is still struggling with which one to choose. Her original intention of buying the spiritual spring water was mainly for farming. Cleansing the marrow and bones and maintaining eternal youth were secondary. Of course, the more benefits the better. Su Qianqian browsed through all the spiritual springs in the fairyland and finally chose a magical spring called Wanling Fairy Spring. Although this spring is not as good as the Biluo Xianquan and Jiutian Qiongjiang, and you cannot be reborn and achieve an immortal body by drinking it in one gulp, but the Wanling Xianquan gathers the spirits of all spirits in heaven and earth and contains rich life force. It can nourish all things, improve your cultivation to the supreme realm, and it also has the effect of cleansing the mind, tempering the body, increasing understanding, etc. The functions covered can be said to be very comprehensive. It can be used for farming, improving cultivation, and it also contains extremely rich spiritual energy. After a while, Su Qianqian returned to the chat interface and sent a message. "I have made my choice. What did you choose?" The other party replied quickly. "Wanling Xianquan. You have good taste. You chose this most popular fairy spring water in the plain system." Most popular? Su Qianqian was stunned. This Wanling Xianquan was not as effective as Biluo Xianquan and Jiutian Qiongjiang, but it was the most popular? The other party seemed to know Su Qianqian's doubts and replied, "The spiritual water of the sacred spring is top-notch in terms of efficacy and the spiritual energy it contains, but it also has a fatal flaw. If ordinary people drink it, they will explode and die because they cannot withstand such a huge force. Don't be fooled by the high prices of my products and their amazing effects, but there are not many people who dare to buy them, because most of the merchants selected by the plain system are ordinary people. Even those who have cultivated themselves dare not drink this holy spring water casually, and the Wanling Xianquan you chose is the softest and least harmful to the body among all the divine spring waters. It is also the only divine spring water that ordinary people can drink. I have to say that you are worthy of being the plain merchant selected by the plain system. You have a good vision, Su Qianqian." It's not that she has good taste, but she had experienced a tragic lesson at an auction before, where she almost died from eating something bad. Those magical spring waters with miraculous effects and high prices are tempting. You have to be alive to enjoy them. However, I would like to kindly remind you that you are still a low-level cultivator, so you must not drink too much from the Wanling Immortal Spring. Otherwise, you will not be able to withstand the huge amount of immortal power, and your body will explode and die. Facing the kind reminder from the other side, Su Qianqian hurriedly responded, "Okay. Thank you for the reminder, big guy." The person on the other end seemed to be amused by her calling him big brother and sent another message. "Haha, little girl. Since you call me that, I'll quietly tell you the use of the Wanling Xianquan." "Use?" Su Qianqian was stunned for a moment and quickly replied, "What is the purpose? I see you have sold a lot of beast crystals on your shelves, so I guess the things you use for cultivation are also beast crystals. And this Wanling Immortal Spring gathers the spirits of all the spirits in the world, which can nourish the natural treasures of the world. In other words, any beast crystals you have used can be soaked in the Immortal Spring, which will gradually restore the energy contained in the beast crystals and even improve the grade of the beast crystals. Seeing this, Su Qianqian's eyes widened with excitement. This Wanling Immortal Spring actually has such a miraculous function? That mean that with this Wanling Immortal Spring, she will have an endless supply of beast crystals in the future. Of course, not only beast crystals, but also cultivation objects from any plane can be soaked in it. Su Qianqian asked quickly, "Can the spiritual stones from the cultivation world and the star cores from the interstellar plane also be soaked in it?" "Of course."
But
The other party paused and added, "The spiritual stones of the cultivation plane are cultivation items of the higher planes, and they need to be soaked for a longer time. If you calculate it in your mortal time, it will take several decades." Su Qianqian clenched her fists and took a few deep breaths to suppress her inner excitement. It would take decades for ordinary people, but for her who possessed the realm origin stone space, it might only take a few months. Su Qianqian couldn't imagine, if she put the immortal spring of all spirits into the realm origin stone space and then soaked the beast crystal in the spring, she would stay in the outside world for a few months and decades would have passed in the realm origin stone space. By then, after absorbing enough of the energy of all spirits, what grade would the beast crystal be upgraded to? After closing the plane trading system, Su Qianqian still couldn't suppress her inner excitement. She glanced at the sky outside the window, which was already darkening, and simply went straight into the realm stone space. Fresh air blew towards her, bringing with it a hint of crispness, rushing into her nostrils, allowing Su Qianqian's excited brain to finally calm down. She reopened the plane trading system and took out the Wanling Fairy Spring from the system's storage space. The Wanling Fairy Spring is contained in a long, thin-necked bottle made of mutton fat white jade, which is a jade bottle often used to store water in the divine world. This is a gift when you buy Xianquan. Don't be fooled by the small size of this bottle. It can store unlimited water, and the space inside is endless. I have to say that the big man from the divine realm is such a kind person. Not only did he tell her how to use the Wanling Immortal Spring word for word, he also gave her such a valuable gift. He is truly a great person. You know, this jade bottle that can store unlimited water is worth hundreds of millions of star coins. Su Qianqian suppressed her inner joy, found a place with an excellent geographical location in the realm stone space, and poured out the fairy spring water in the jade bottle. The realm stone space and the spiritual energy of the fairy spring water, Su Qianqian instantly felt that the entire space was filled with a strong breath of life. The breath blowing towards her became increasingly cold and fresh, and the fruits and vegetables planted in the space became increasingly bright and green, presenting a vibrant scene. Su Qianqian took a deep breath and felt that the supernatural power in her body was growing. The current boundary stone space is probably comparable to the fairyland. If an ordinary mortal lives in it and breathes the air mixed with the spirit of all spirits, it cannot be said that he will be able to awaken supernatural powers, but he will definitely have no problem living for 100 or 200 years. After thinking about it, Su Qianqian took out the 5th-level beast crystal that she had absorbed before and threw it into the fairy spring water to soak. She took out her cell phone again and recorded the time. She wanted to see how long a 5th-level beast crystal would have to soak in the fairy spring water before it could return to its original appearance. The boundary stone space, and the sky is always foggy. Su Qianqian looked at the fairy spring water under her feet, which was as green as jade and sparkling, and couldn't help swallowing. The big man from the divine realm had warned that although the holy spring water had a mild effect, one should not drink too much of it. So it should be fine for her to just drink a small sip, right? Thinking of this, Su Qianqian took out a small cup from the storage ring, filled it with half a cup of fairy spring water, then brought it close to her mouth and took a sip. The cold spring water ran across the tip of her tongue, bringing a strange, slight trembling feeling, and Su Qianqian couldn't help but shiver. The fairy spring water slid down the tip of the tongue, passed through the throat, and flowed into the body. The originally cold fairy spring water suddenly became scorching hot, like erupting magma, pouring into the lower abdomen like a torrent, and then flowing to the limbs and bones. A moment, Su Qianqian only felt a warmth in her lower abdomen, as if she was soaking in a hot spring, and her limbs felt a little weak. She collapsed to the ground, and it took her a long time to regain some strength. Immediately afterwards, an unprecedented powerful force surged from the lower abdomen to the limbs and bones, filling the body with endless strength. Su Qianqian quickly stood up from the ground and took out the testing equipment to test it. Sure enough, her physical fitness has increased from 600 to 800 in an instant, and the level of her supernatural power has also increased from level 5 to level 6. She has been stuck at this 5th-level supernatural power for a long time. She had previously absorbed a 5th-level beast crystal in one breath, but did not see any improvement. But after taking a sip of the fairy spring water, her supernatural power was instantly upgraded by 1 level. It was simply amazing. The Wanling Fairy Spring was worthy of being the spring water from the divine realm. Su Qianqian clenched her fists excitedly, feeling the power surging in her body. With her current strength, it should be no problem for her to deal with those 5th-level beasts in the mountain. In a few days, she would go to the mountain to find a 5th-level beast to try. Having made up her mind, Su Qianqian left the Realm Stone space. Of course, before leaving, she did not forget the remaining fairy spring water in the cup. She glanced at the birch bark bucket where the spiritual rice was soaked, and then poured all the fairy spring water in the cup into it. It was already pitch dark outside. Su Qianqian closed the window and prepared to wash up and go to bed. Probably because she got such a great bargain on the Wanling Fairy Spring today, Su Qianqian was so excited that she couldn't sleep and her heart was pounding. After tossing and turning, so she simply got up, put on a coat, walked out of the house, and took a walk outside. For fear of disturbing the rest of the orcs in the tribe, Su Qianqian walked quietly to the river. However, when she reached the river, she was surprised to find that there was also a figure standing by the river. The man was tall, dressed in a linen gown and trousers, with a cold temperament and a distant look. Hearing the noise, he suddenly turned his head and looked over. The bright and clear moonlight fell on his young and delicate skin. At that moment, he seemed to be standing in the starry sky, looking at her with deep eyes. Su Qianqian didn't have time to react, and just stared at him in shock. Niantian. Qianqian. The corners of his lips moved slightly, and he uttered these 2 words softly, as if he called her name for the first time, and his voice trembled slightly. Su Qianqian came back to her senses, then took a step forward, strode towards him, and said with a smile, "Xiao Mian, why are you here? Can't you sleep either?" Mian Tian withdrew his gaze and hummed lightly. Su Qianqian stood beside him, breathed a sigh of relief, and asked, "Are you worried about something?" She tilted her head to look over. In the moonlight, he slightly frowned, his eyelashes trembled, and his pale lips curved into an arc. His dark eyes suddenly looked over, and his gaze fell directly on the beast mark on her wrist. "Why do you want to mate with someone else's male?"
Ah?
Su Qianqian was stunned for a moment, her eyes following his gaze to her wrist. Although the beast mark left by Yin Shua was light in color, it could be seen at a glance at a close distance. Su Qianqian felt a little guilty for some reason. She unconsciously pulled her sleeves to barely cover the beast mark on her wrist and stammered, "This is actually for convenience, so that I can always detect whether he is in danger." "You care about him so much?" Mian Tian retracted his gaze, his eyes drooping, his expression lazy. He sneered slightly. "Then I wish him a peaceful life and never encounter danger." "What are you talking about, you silly boy?" Su Qianqian was amused by his words and couldn't help but subconsciously reached out to touch his head. "Yin Shua. He will be back in a few days. He won't be in danger." "Are you so sure?" Mian Tian said, and suddenly turned his head to avoid her hand. Su Qianqian's fingers froze, and she looked at Mian Tian in front of her with some surprise. "What's wrong with you?" "Mian Tian, I feel like you're a little weird tonight." "Nothing." Mian Tian glanced at her hand calmly and said, "I just don't like you always treating me like a child." "Is that so?" Upon hearing this, Su Qianqian could only withdraw her hand awkwardly. "Originally, Mian Tian didn't like me touching his head. But it's true, Mian Tian has grown up now and is an adult male orc, and I really can't treat him the same way as before. By the way, Mian Tian, how many superpowers do you have? Is it because of your superpowers that you grow so fast? The other person was silent, and then he hummed faintly, and after a while he said in a low voice, "Actually, this is my original appearance." Su Qianqian was stunned when she heard this, and once again looked at Mian Tian beside her. At the moment, he looks to be only in his early 20s and still looks cold and indifferent. However, compared to the stunning and beautiful appearance in his youth, there is a more handsome look between his brows and a temperament between maturity and youth, cold and aloof. But there was always a vague gloomy and cold aura about him. Su Qianqian felt that she could not see through this person. From the moment she picked him up, Mian Tian seemed to be shrouded in a layer of fog, isolating outsiders from approaching, and seemed mysterious and unpredictable. Shi Yuan had complained before that Mian Tian always spoke in an advanced tone and didn't sound like a child at all. It turns out,
He is really not a child.
Su Qianqian couldn't help but sigh. Mian Tian, who are you? Sometimes she couldn't help wondering if Mian Tian really had another purpose for getting close to her. However, the other party remained silent, obviously not wanting to answer her question. Su Qianqian pulled the corner of her mouth helplessly. It was late at night, and she didn't want to make the atmosphere so awkward, so she simply said, "If you don't want to say it, then don't say it. It won't be too late to tell me when you figure it out one day. But you've grown so big all of a sudden I'm a little bit not used to it," she added with a smile, hoping that the joking words could dilute the heavy atmosphere. But upon hearing this, Mian Tian suddenly looked up. His deep black eyes were still calm, but perhaps because of the elegant moonlight, his brows were much gentler than usual. "I'm old enough to get married." He stared at her and spoke word by word. His voice was like a clear spring, low and melodious. Su Qianqian was caught off guard and was stunned. Under the moonlight, those dark eyes were gleaming with tiny glimmers, staring at her steadily, as if they were filled with some kind of ardent expectation and hope. Su Qianqian suddenly became speechless. After a while, she lowered her head, gathered the hair around her ears, and turned around hurriedly. Well, I think it's getting late. Let's go back and rest early." After saying that, she didn't even dare to look at Mian Tian and fled away from the river. Mian Tian looked at the girls receding back, his eyes gradually dimmed. The moonlight fell on his face, casting shadows of varying depths on his face, making it impossible to tell what emotion he was expressing at the moment. After a long moment, he withdrew his gaze expressionlessly, returning to his usual cold and distant look. However, the slightly raised corners of his lips revealed a hint of indifference and mockery. The next morning, Su Qianqian got out of bed with dark circles under her eyes. Didn't sleep the whole night. She sat on the bed and scratched her hair in distress. Until now, the look in Mian Tian's eyes last night as he gazed at her was still engraved in her mind, and she could not forget it. Damn, that kid must be in love with her. I even thought about becoming her partner. Su Qianqian couldn't tell what she felt at the moment. Her originally peaceful life had been messed up by Yin Shua, Hu Yang, and Lang Yan, and now a man of unknown depth and mysterious identity got involved. She just felt overwhelmed. She regretted it so much now that she wanted to bang her head against the wall. She shouldn't have gone for a walk by the river last night. Su Qianqian hugged the pillow and rolled around on the bed in a tangled manner. How could she face Mian Tian in the future? Just as she was worrying, Shan Mao's voice suddenly came from outside the house, calling her. "Chief Su, are you awake? Brother Hu Yang and the others are back." Su Qianqian heard this and sat up from the bed. "Hu Yang is back." She hurriedly dropped the pillow in her hand, got out of bed, put on her shoes, opened the door, and asked Shan Mao, "When did they come back? Where are they?" The mountain cat pointed to a certain place in the tribe and said, "They just arrived this morning." Hu Yang brought his tribesmen with him. They also brought a lot of things. Brother Shi Yuan and his people have gone to greet them. He asked me to call you over. Su Qianqian nodded repeatedly. "I'll change my clothes and go right over." "Shan Mao, you go first." Okay. The mountain cat responded and ran away. Huyang and his friends came back. All the orcs in the tribe were very happy, and everyone went to greet them. Su Qianqian naturally couldn't slack off. She quickly changed out of her pajamas, put on a set of clean clothes, washed up, and hurried over. When she arrived, the members of the White Tiger tribe had already been invited to the tribal square. Dozens of animal skin bags were piled up beside them, all filled to the brim. You're here. What else do you want to bring? Shi Yuan put his arm around Hu Yang's shoulders warmly and hospitably, as if he had met a friend he hadn't seen for a long time. Let me tell you, under the leadership of Su Mu, our tribe has everything we need, including delicious food and fun things. You can come here this time to enjoy the scenery. You must stay longer. Yeah. Hu Yang agreed, but he kept looking around and asked eagerly, Where's Qianqian? I'm here. Su Qianqian heard his voice looking for her from afar and waved at him amusedly. Qianqian. When Hu Yang saw her, his amber eyes lit up instantly, and then he pounced on her without thinking. Even though Su Qianqian was prepared to be pounced on by him, she still couldn't withstand the man's strength and was completely pinned under him. Qianqian, I finally see you. I really missed you. Hu Yang leaned on her, rubbing his head against her cheek, and was so excited that even his tiger tail was exposed and shook nonstop. Su Qianqian pinched his furry ears as usual and said in a low voice, There are so many people watching us. Be more restrained and get up quickly. Yeah, okay. Hu Yang climbed up obediently, but his whole body was still sticky on Su Qianqian, his long and strong arms around her slender waist, and he was unwilling to let go. However, the next second, he suddenly felt an unusually cold gaze falling on him. Hu Yang turned around subconsciously, but only saw a young man standing in a corner not far away, with a gloomy face and a pair of black eyes staring at him coldly and sharply. Hu Yang paused, as if he realized something, and tightened his arms around Su Qianqian's slender waist. As if he was afraid that his precious thing would be snatched away, he pulled Su Qianqian closer to his arms. Su Qianqian was somewhat confused by his sudden action. What's wrong, Hu Yang? As she asked, she followed Hu Yang's gaze, and sure enough, she saw Mian Tian standing not far away. He frowned at this moment, no longer pretending to be innocent and calm as he did in the past when Su Qianqian looked at him. Instead, the coldness and unhappiness on his face were fully revealed.
Mian Tian, Su Qianqian laughed awkwardly.
Her throat seemed to be blocked, and she suddenly didn't know what to say. Mian Tian, you're here too. Fortunately, Shi Yuan came over in time, took Mian Tian's shoulder carelessly, and brought him to Hu Yang. Come, let me introduce you. This is Hu Yang, an orc from the White Tiger tribe, and a good friend of Sumo. Then he turned to introduce Hu Yang. He is Mian Tian, a slave that Su Mu picked up a few months ago. He is now a member of our tribe. You two should get along well with each other. Hearing this, Su Qianqian immediately gave Shi Yuan a look of great gratitude. Fortunately, he was there, otherwise the atmosphere would have been extremely awkward. Hello. Mian Tian pulled the corner of his lips and spoke first. Hello. Hu Yang narrowed his eyes and responded. The man in front of him was obviously smiling, but there was a hint of coldness in his eyes. He hid the hostility in his body very well. As a male, he understood the man's thoughts very well, so after saying hello, he immediately put his arm around Su Qianqian's waist and said in a coquettish tone, Qianqian, my tribesmen are here too this time, and they all want to meet you. Really?
Su Qianqian laughed dryly twice.
She caught a glimpse of Mian Tian's increasingly gloomy expression from the corner of her eye, and her heart trembled inexplicably. Mian Tian is a guy with unfathomable strength, and Hu Yang is no match for him at all. They cannot be allowed to conflict with each other, and they must quickly find a way to separate these two. So, Su Qianqian winked at Shi Yuan, then pulled Hu Yang away. Then, let us go check on your people. Don't keep them waiting for too long. As soon as the two left, Mian Tian's face suddenly turned gloomy, and a hint of scarlet flashed in his deep black eyes. Shi Yuan glimpsed the bloodshot in his eyes and shuddered. He swallowed back the joke he was about to say and stammered. Well, Hu Yang hasn't seen Su Mu for a long time, so he seems a little enthusiastic. That Mian Tian, don't mind it.
Hu Yang is just like that.
Sumu cares about you the most. You mustn't. He could finish his words. Mian Tian turned around and left without looking back. Shi Yuan, who was left behind, scratched his head awkwardly, not knowing what to say. He just sighed as he watched Mian Tian walk away, then turned around to look for Hu Yang and the others. This time, it was not just Hu Yang who came alone, but also the white-bearded priest named Eruo, and a healthy and strong female orc. Qianqian, this is my elder sister, Huayin. Ever since she heard about you, she has always wanted to meet you. Hu Yang introduced. Hello. Su Qianqian looked at the female orc in front of her. If it wasn't for Hu Yang's introduction, she would hardly be able to tell that the orc in front of her was a female. She has neat short hair. Although she doesn't have as strong muscles as male orcs, she has a strong body, healthy wheat-colored skin, and a healthy rosy cheeks. While Su Qianqian was looking at each other, Hua Yin was also looking at the girl in front of him. It's totally different from what I imagined. She originally thought that the legendary holy female should be high and mighty, cold and unattainable, but she didn't expect it to be such a young girl, who seemed to have just reached adulthood. She was indeed very beautiful, more beautiful than any female she had ever seen, but there was no sense of distance at all. From the moment she met Su Qianqian, she had been observing quietly. Whenever she walked in the tribe, she was always friendly and amiable to any orc, without any airs, making people feel that she was easy to get along with. Chief Su, are there any guests coming? At this time, Xiaojiu came running over with his short legs and threw himself into Su Qianqian's arms. Su Qianqian leaned over and touched her head, smiling. Yes, they are from Hu Yang's tribe. Xiaojiu, go tell Shifang and ask them to prepare some delicious food to entertain guests tonight. Xiaojiu blinked his big grape-like eyes and timidly looked at the white tiger orcs opposite him. Then he nodded obediently at Su Qianqian. Okay, I'll go now. Xiaojiu ran away again, with his short legs. Hua Yin felt even more incredible. She had clearly seen the slave mark on the little girl, but this holy female didn't dislike her at all. She smiled at her so gently and even touched her head. Chief Su, you're welcome. We are old acquaintances. The white-bearded priest stepped forward and said. Su Qianqian also smiled and said, You have come all the way here. How can we not treat you well? The girl has curved eyebrows and a comfortable smile on her face, making people feel like they are in the spring breeze. Hua Yin took a look and felt that she couldn't look away. She couldn't help but coughed lightly and said, Well, that. Chief Su, the main reason we came here this time is to thank you for your gift of medicine. Your pills are simply amazing. My father's illness was cured instantly after he took them. He is so energetic that he seems to be 10 years younger. As she spoke, she put her hands in front of her chest, lowered her head slightly, and solemnly and respectfully made a special salute to Su Qianqian. I, Hua Yin, on behalf of the entire White Tiger tribe, express my most sincere gratitude and blessings to you. You are our great benefactor. If you can be of any use to us in the future, please let us know. It was Qianqian who waved her hands repeatedly. Of course, you are too polite. Qianqian, now that father's illness is recovered, I don't have to inherit the position of clan leader, and I can always stay by your side. Hu Yang came up to her again with a happy look on his face.
Su Qianqian smiled helplessly.
She couldn't say anything in front of so many people, so she could only let him go. Huayin smiled knowingly, then winked at the white-bearded priest, asking him to bring in the dozen or so moose outside. The white-bearded priest nodded, and quickly called Shi Yuan and others to help, and led the dozen or so moose outside into the tribe. The backs of these moose were all filled with animal skin bags, bulging with supplies, including animal skins, animal crystals, and all kinds of beautiful animal tooth beads. We brought these from the White Tiger tribe all the way here, specially for you, Chief Su, said the white-bearded priest. Give it to me? Su Qianqian was stunned when she heard that.
Yes.
The white-bearded priest nodded. These are the betrothal gifts that our White Tiger tribe prepared for Hu Yang. He finished speaking. Hua Yin suddenly interrupted him. A thank you gift. This is a thank you gift prepared for you by our White Tiger tribe. As she spoke, she winked at the white-bearded priest calmly. The white-bearded priest also understood immediately and quickly changed his words. Yes, it's a thank you gift. Chief Su, you saved the chief of our White Tiger tribe. Please accept all these supplies. Otherwise, we will have a hard time explaining when we return. Su Qianqian watched the two of them interacting and exchanging glances, and intuitively felt that they were hiding something from her. But on the surface, she still showed a polite and generous smile. You are too polite. In this case, you can stay here for a while longer. She finished speaking. She winked at Nan Wu beside her and asked him to transport the supplies to the guest rooms in the tribe and not move them until she figured out the real purpose of these people's visit. Of course. Whitebeard nodded repeatedly. Hua Yin beside him also had a big smile on his face. Of course I have to stay longer. I have long wanted to see what the tribe founded by the legendary Saint Female looks like. The two of them chatted back and forth, cooperating so well that Su Qianqian couldn't see any flaws at all. Su Qianqian could only let Shi Yuan, who was good at sociability, take the two of them to visit the tribe, while she pulled Hu Yang to a corner aside, ready to interrogate him thoroughly. Tell me the truth quickly. What is the purpose of your sister and the others coming to my tribe this time? Su Qianqian grabbed Hu Yang's soft animal ears and asked in a low voice. Hu Yang looked at her aggrievedly. Sister, and the others just accompanied me to see you. After all, they were worried about me staying here alone, so… Really? Su Qianqian narrowed her eyes. So, you guys really sent so many supplies to thank me? Hu Yang nodded gently, then shook his head and said, Of course it's not all. Qianqian, I will be with you forever from now on, and my food and drink will all depend on you. My sisters are worried that you will think I'm hard to support and will drive me away, so they sent me some more supplies to keep me safe. Su Qianqian. This sounds like the dowry that the bride's family prepares for their daughter when she gets married. She glanced suspiciously at Hu Yang's aggrieved face and was speechless. Don't act so pitiful. Don't think I don't know that with your strength, you can kill the beasts in the mountains at will. You can eat whatever you want. Are you afraid that I can't afford to feed you? Then I'll take care of you. Bai Hu came over with a playful smile, holding her waist with both hands and sticking to her. Qianqian, no matter what, I want to stay by your side for the rest of my life. Don't even think about driving me away. Okay, I get it. Su Qianqian helplessly slapped his hand away, but the next second Hu Yang grabbed her wrist fiercely. What's this? Su Qianqian was stunned. Seeing the beast mark on her wrist, she felt a little guilty for some reason. This is actually… Was it left by that damn big bird? Hu Yang's voice suddenly became sharp. His face was filled with anger, and he stared at the beast mark on Su Qianqian's wrist with gritted teeth, and said angrily, This damn big bird actually took advantage of my absence to do this to you. At this point, he suddenly looked at Su Qianqian aggrievedly, pursed his lips and said, No, I want one too. I want to leave my mark of the beast on you too. Su Qianqian covered her face helplessly and said, Hu Yang, listen to me first. We are not really a couple, it's just… I don't care. I don't care. Why should that dead bird get there before me? It's not fair. I'm going to leave my mark on you right now. Hu Yang didn't even wait for Su Qianqian to finish her words. He pressed her against the wall behind him, held her chin with his hand, leaned over and kissed her. Hu Yang. Please listen to me first. Warm lips and tongue entered her mouth, and Su Qianqian's unfinished words were drowned in the affectionate kiss. Su Qianqian pushed him away twice but failed, so she could only wait for him to finish kissing her. However, gradually, Hu Yang was no longer satisfied with this light kiss. The big hand that was holding her waist suddenly reached down, and his nimble fingers reached into the hem of her clothes. Su Qianqian finally panicked and pushed him away with all her strength, angrily saying, Hu Yang, if you don't listen to me, I will never talk to you again. Hu Yang heard this. He was immediately scared and quickly pulled his hand back. Qianqian, I'm sorry. Don't be angry. I won't dare to do it again. He hugged her waist tightly, put his head on the side of her neck, and rubbed her from time to time, as if he was acting coquettishly or begging for mercy. After Su Qianqian was touched by his action, The anger that had just risen in her heart disappeared instantly. I've never seen anyone slide to his knees so quickly. Sighed helplessly. Huyang, let me be honest with you. I don't want to be with anyone right now, including you. Why? Huyang raised his head, his amber eyes looking at her in confusion. In the beast world, it is very difficult for females to live alone. In the end, they have to mate with males. With the protection of males, they can live happily. But Su Qianqian lowered her eyes. Huyang, you have to know that I am not an orc from the beast world continent. I am different from you. Of course I know that you are different from the females in the beast world. You are a holy female. Huyang, that's not what I meant. Su Qianqian sighed helplessly, not knowing how to explain it. She still hadn't figured out some things, such as why she came to this beast world, and why she was chosen by the plane system to be a plane merchant. What if one day, she was forcibly taken back to the plane system and sent back to her original world? These are all uncertainties. In the past, she really wanted to leave this world. She wanted to go back and seek revenge on her vicious parents with the power of the plane trading system and see her grandparents. But since she established her own tribe here and felt everyone's care and love, she found the feeling of home again. That floating heart seemed to have suddenly found its home, and she began to think about staying here for the rest of her life. But at the same time, she became afraid that the system would suddenly send her back to her original world. If that day really comes, she must be fully prepared to ensure that she has enough strength and confidence to stay in this world. Otherwise, Su Qianqian was really scared. If one day she was really sent back to her original world, or something happened, none of them would survive. She didn't want to take their lives on her shoulders now. It was too heavy and it scared her. Huyang, if you're willing to wait for me, I will be your partner one day, but definitely not now. If you can't wait, then go find another female. Su Qianqian took a deep breath and finally expressed her inner thoughts. Huyang looked at the girl in his arms. She was biting her lips lightly, and her misty eyes contained a firm belief. His heart softened inexplicably, and he held the back of the girl's head and gently pressed her into his arms. Why wouldn't you want to wait? Huyang buried his head in her ear and whispered, Even if I have to wait for you for a lifetime, I'm willing to do so, and I won't regret it for the rest of my life. At this moment, his face was more solemn than ever before. Su Qianqian leaned in his arms, and the heart that had been hanging in the air finally settled down. But Huyang stretched out his voice again. As compensation, you have to kiss me. Shuqianqian. Didn't we just kissed? Huyang pointed at his thin lips and said righteously, What happened just now doesn't count. I want you to kiss me first. Su Qianqian. Why, you don't want to? Huyang saw that she didn't say anything, so he immediately pulled her wrist and deliberately walked towards the house. Then let us go get married now. Okay, I'll kiss you. Su Qianqian was really scared of him, so she quickly pulled him, then stood on tiptoes and gave him a light kiss on the corner of his lips. Huyang licked his lips, looking dissatisfied. No, this doesn't count, it's too light. You think it's too light? Su Qianqian glared at him and simply imitated his previous behavior, pressing him against the wall, pretending to be strong and said, Lower your head a little. Huyang lowered his head obediently. Open your mouth. The girl's soft lips pressed against his, holding his lips and tongue tightly. Huyang's eyes darkened, and this time he didn't wait for Su Qianqian to retreat. Instead, he pressed the back of her head and deepened the kiss. He bit her lips gently, and Su Qianqian's body trembled uncontrollably, becoming half limp. Huyang held her slender waist and kissed the girl's lips obsessively, but his amber eyes looked through Su Qianqian's ear and proudly looked at a corner not far away. All this quietly. He saw Huyang's smug look as he showed it to him, and his fists at his sides tightened inch by inch until his knuckles turned white with force. When Su Qianqian's hands and feet were numb from being kissed, and her whole body was almost limp like a puddle of water, Huyang let her go. After taking a few deep breaths of fresh air, Su Qianqian belatedly turned around and looked behind her. There was nothing behind him. No one there. Is it an illusion? Su Qianqian scratched her head half in confusion, then looked at the satisfied man in front of her and couldn't help but glared at him. That's enough kissing. Can you be quiet now? Hu Yang curled his lips, rarely showing his obedient look as before. It seemed that he had caught Su Qianqian's most hidden weakness and became much more unscrupulous than before. Let's go and meet your sister and others. Su Qianqian was too lazy to talk nonsense with him and turned around and left. Hu Yang followed her step slowly and asked casually, "Speaking of which, Qian, why did you pick up a slave? Isn't having me enough?" Su Qianqian said helplessly, "You are not a slave. If you like, I can be your slave." "Really?" Su Qianqian glanced at him, her lips curled slightly. "Then call the master and let me hear it." "So you like me to call you that? Then I'll call you master from now on." Hu Yang came close to her again, rubbing his tail happily. Master, Su Qianqian. "Why, isn't my voice nice?" And a cunning look flashed across his jade-like amber pupils. "Do you still need to tie me up with a rope and make me scream? Or make me kneel on the ground, take off all my clothes and call you Master, Su Qianqian? Why is it getting more and more outrageous? I'm not as perverted as you say." Su Qianqian stared at him speechlessly. "Is this called perversion?" Hu Yang's big hands around her slender waist started to get naughty again, and his words became frivolous. He deliberately lowered his voice and said, "Then I'll come to your room tonight and show you something even more perverted?" Su Qianqian. Is it ever going to end? Su Qianqian blushed, pushed his dishonest hand away, and strode away. "Hey, master, don't walk so fast." Hu Yang hurriedly caught up with her, and when he saw the girl's red ears, he shouted even more happily, Master, wait for your slave." Hearing the teasing shouts, Su Qianqian. Is it ever going to end? Su Qianqian blushed, pushed his dishonest hand away, and strode away. "Hey, master, don't walk so fast." Hu Yang hurriedly caught up with her, and when he saw the girl's red ears, he shouted even more happily, Master, wait for your slave." Hearing the teasing shouts behind her, she had been to many tribes and traveled to many places, but she had never seen such a magical tribe. The place where they live is not a cave, but something called a house. The place where they sleep is not a heavy and cold stone bed, but a lighter and more convenient wooden bed. Looking at the houses row by row, they look like small square boxes with ventilated windows, bright and clean wooden floors, and you can even take a shower in the houses. Speaking of taking a bath, Huayin became even more excited. After they finished visiting the tribe of beasts, Nanwu brought a few pieces of something called soap, distributed them to them one by one, and took them to a small room called bathroom to take a bath. There were many compartments in that small room, separated by thick wooden boards. In each compartment was a large wooden barrel half a person's height, filled with hot water and steam rising from it. After learning how to use soap, Huayin took off her animal skin skirt, jumped into the wooden barrel, and took a comfortable hot bath. After taking the hot bath, she felt much more comfortable, and all the fatigue from traveling for several months disappeared instantly. After taking a shower, when Huayin was about to change into her dirty clothes, Xiaoju knocked on the door outside the cubicle, holding a clean animal skin skirt. Huayin was so happy that she was about to burst into bubbles. The orcs from the 10,000 Beasts tribe were so thoughtful. After putting on a clean animal skin skirt, smelling the faint fragrance emanating from her body, and looking at her skin which had become noticeably whiter, Huayin felt the best she had ever felt. The white-bearded priest next to him also looked like he was enjoying it. He took the animal skin towel handed to him by Bobcat and was about to wipe the water stains off his beard when he saw Su Qianqian walking over with Huyang. He didn't even bother to wipe his beard and ran towards the two of them excitedly. "Chief Su, I didn't expect that your tribe would have changed so much in just a few months. It's really amazing." Su Qianqian smiled modestly. "Thank you for the compliment, priest. If you like, you can stay in our tribe for a few more days." "Really? That's great." The white-bearded priest's beard trembled with excitement, and he said, "But in fact, I came here this time. In addition to sending Huyang to you, I also wanted to meet Lord Shiju, but I haven't seen him today. Is he not in your tribe, or has he returned to the City of Beasts?" Well, actually, Lord Shijua is no longer in Wanshou City. He is now. Su Qianqian was about to explain when Xiao Zhou came running over with his short legs, shouting, Chief Su, Master Priest, and Sister Huayin, Brother Shifang asked me to call you to eat. When Huayin heard about eating, his eyes lit up. He picked up Xiao Zhou and kissed him twice, and said to the white-bearded priest, Hey, priest, don't ask about this news for now. Ask later. Let's go eat first. I've been hungry for a long time. Okay. The white-bearded priest was also hungry and nodded quickly. So, the group headed towards the kitchen. As soon as she entered the kitchen, Huayin was so stunned by the table full of delicious food that she was speechless. Oh my god, are these all edible? They are so beautiful and smell so good. I have never seen anything like them before. Haha, you're welcome, please sit down. Shifang warmly invited them to sit down and took the trouble to serve them food. What is this? Huayin looked at the white rice in the bowl and exclaimed in surprise. This is cooked rice. Nanwu explained with a smile. It is the food that Chief Su prepared for us. It is very filling. Huayin looked at everyone at the table suspiciously. Everyone was holding a large bowl of rice and 2 wooden sticks in their hands to pick up the food on the table. She didn't quite understand the rules of this tribe, but she still followed their example, took the chopsticks handed to her by Nanwu, and tried to pick up the meat and vegetables on the table. But she was not used to using chopsticks at all. She tried to pick up the food awkwardly for a long time, but not only did she fail to pick up the food, the chopsticks also fell to the ground. Sorry. It's okay. Su Qianqian smiled and helped her pick up the chopsticks, then handed her a spoon. You can eat with this first. Okay, thank you. Huayin took the spoon, her heart pounding with inexplicable nervousness. The female is worthy of being called a saint female. Who can resist her smile? No wonder that silly boy Huyang is so bewitched by her. What do you want to eat? I'll get it for you. Nanwu also sat next to Huayin and showed off his hands that were good at using chopsticks. Huayin's eyes were full of stars, and she quickly pointed at the meat dishes on the table and said, This, that, and the one next to it. I want to try them all. This is braised pork, it tastes sweet. This is stir-fried diced pork, Shifang's specialty, but it's a little spicy. You can try it first. This is stewed pork elbow, Xiwan's favorite meat dish. Nanwu was extremely considerate. Not only did he pick up food for Huayin, he also introduced the taste and names of various dishes to her. Huayin was eating with his mouth full of oil. Although he didn't quite understand the names of the dishes, he nodded hurriedly, giving his full emotional value. Shi Yuan, who was standing next to him, curled his lips and couldn't help but mutter, You're not so attentive to others when they come. Su Qianqian listened, shook her head in amusement, and then whispered back, At least. He still remembers that you like to eat stewed pork elbow. Shi Yuan. This is delicious. And that is delicious too. Oh my god, how can there be such delicious food in the world? I am so happy. Huayin's cheeks were puffed up, and her face was full of intoxication. I will not leave this 10,000 beasts tribe. I want to stay here forever. The food here is simply delicious. The white-bearded priest who was feeding beans to the side was so frightened when he heard this that he immediately put down his chopsticks and said hurriedly, No, you can't stay here like Huyang. The children in the tribe are eagerly waiting for you to return. Baby? Su Qianqian paused. It's the cub born by my elder sister. Huyang beside him whispered, My elder sister gave birth to 4 cubs in total. She is the most fertile female in the White Tiger tribe, giving birth to 4 children. Well, that's really powerful. Then how many beastly husbands does she have? Su Qianqian couldn't help but ask in a low voice. Huyang scratched his fingers and recalled, It seems that there are 19. 19. Su Qianqian was so frightened that she dropped the food she was holding on her chopsticks. Isn't this too much? As the daughter of the tribe leader, Sister A shoulders the responsibility of reproducing offspring for the tribe. Huyang explained in a low voice. In fact, Sister A's beast husbands originally had more than this number, but later some accidents happened and many of Sister A's beast husbands died. Oh, so that's it. Su Qianqian was silent. Having lived in the Grey Wolf tribe for some time, she could roughly guess what kind of accident it was. But compared to this, she felt more sorry for the women in this world. Even a female with status and position like Hua cannot escape the fate of having children and reproducing offspring at home. How miserable is the fate of those females of low status. But it cannot be said that they are completely treated as reproductive tools, but it is the result of the world that makes them carry such a heavy responsibility on their shoulders. Therefore, even if no one forces them, the females in this world will still take the initiative to take on such a responsibility. Why are you so anxious? I'm just talking. Hua spat out the bone in his mouth and glanced helplessly at the white-bearded priest beside him. I'm not going back. I know my responsibilities. Hua withdrew his gaze and poked the rice in the bowl with a spoon. But her tone was obviously a little lower than before, and even the food she was eating didn't taste as good as before. Seeing this, Su Qianqian quickly stood up and poured Hua a bowl of deer milk. You've eaten so much, try this. It can help you get rid of the greasiness. Hua looked at the bowl of sweet and rich deer milk, and a happy expression returned to his face. He asked hurriedly, Chief Su, what is this? This is deer milk. Sure, Yuan replied. It's milk squeezed from a female deer. He originally thought that Hua would definitely shake her head in disgust and refuse when she heard it was deer milk, but he didn't expect that the other party would raise her head and drink the whole bowl of deer milk in one gulp. Oh my God! This is so delicious. Hua wiped the milk stains from her lips, her face full of surprise and joy. I didn't expect deer milk to be so delicious. When I return to the tribe, I will ask my tribesmen to catch a few deer and raise them so that we can use them to milk and drink from now on. Su Qianqian nodded with a smile. This deer milk is not only delicious but also very nutritious. The females in the tribe can drink more of it. It is good for their health. Similarly, the cubs in the tribe can also drink it. It is beneficial to their growth. Oh my God, there are so many benefits. Hua excitedly handed the bowl to Su Qianqian. Chief Su, give me another bowl. Su Qianqian shoved the whole can of deer milk at her with a smile and said, Okay, I'll give you the whole can. You can stay in the tribe for a few more days. Tomorrow I'll ask Nanwu to take you to see how to make deer milk. Okay. Hua happily held the whole can of deer milk, her face almost blooming with smiles. At this time, Bobcat came running in from outside, sweating profusely. Chief Su, something bad has happened. Su Qianqian looked back. What happened? Bobcat wiped the sweat from his forehead, looked at the guests in the kitchen, and seemed a little embarrassed to speak. Su Qianqian pulled him out of the kitchen and asked in a low voice, What happened? It was Miantian. Shan Mao also answered in a low voice. He overturned the dining table, didn't want to eat with us, and went back to the house alone. Su Qianqian frowned when she heard this. What is he doing with his temper again? In short, Chief Su, you should go and see him. He broke the bowl when he overturned the table and also injured his hand. He's bleeding a lot. Bobcat's face was full of worry. Okay, I understand. You go back first, I'll go and see it later. Su Qianqian sighed, went back to the kitchen and said something, then rushed towards a house where Miantian was. Seeing Su Qianqian hurriedly leaving, Hua frowned and immediately moved closer to Hu Yang, asking in a low voice, Who is Miantian? Although Su Qianqian had just pulled the mountain cat outside, the orcs with sensitive hearing could still hear the sound at this distance. Who else could it be? Hu Yang threw the spoon in his hand onto the table sullenly. It's the slave that Qian Qian picked up. He must have fallen for Qian Qian and wants to take her away from her. So you're just going to sit there and do nothing? What can I do? Hu Yang said with a bitter face. If I interfere, Qian Qian will definitely not be happy. If I make her angry, she will ignore me. Then you should quickly find a way to be her partner. Once you become her partner, you can stay with her forever. But she doesn't want to. Hu Yang pouted bitterly. You're stupid. Hua glared at him in frustration. If she doesn't want to, then just pester her. As the saying goes, a strong woman is afraid of a pestering man. As long as you are thick-skinned enough and try your best to please her, there is nothing you can't do. Is this possible? Of course. Huayin held the deer milk can and puffed out her chest with pride. Do you know how my beastly husbands try to please me in order to win my favor? Come, I'll teach you a few tricks. You do this. And then that Hu Yang listened, his amber eyes gradually widened, his face full of eagerness to try. The people from Shifeng nearby blushed and coughed a few times in embarrassment. Sometimes, it's not good for orcs to have too sensitive hearing. Miantian, are you there? Standing in front of Miantian's house, Su Qianqian knocked on the door gently. There was dead silence in the room, and no response came. Then I come in? After saying that, she gently pushed open the door. The doors and windows of the house were locked, and not a single light came in, making it seem dark and depressing. Su Qianqian poked her head in to look, but did not see Mian Tian in the room. Even the bed was empty. Is it possible that Mian Tian is not in the house? Su Qianqian was a little confused and took 2 more steps into the house. Little did she know that the door behind her slowly closed and locked the moment she entered.
Why?
A cold voice suddenly sounded from behind. Su Qianqian was startled, and when she turned around, she met a pair of gloomy and dark eyes. Mian Tian? Su Qianqian was caught off guard. Just as she reacted, Mian Tian, in the form of an adult man, suddenly pounced on her like a wild beast and pressed her heavily to the ground.
Why?
Why do you have so many people around you? His eyes were red, and his voice suddenly became hysterical. You are the only one by my side. Why can't you focus on me alone? Why do you have to look at others?
Why?
Su Qianqian was shocked by his crazy look. It took her a while to react. She said in disbelief, Miantian, what are you talking about? When she turned around, she found that his entire right palm was bleeding, but he was still holding her shoulder tightly without feeling any pain, almost soaking her clothes at the shoulder. What the hell are you doing? Su Qianqian finally couldn't help it and grabbed his right wrist. She saw that it was not cut by the fragments of a porcelain bowl, but by the blade of a dagger. The cut was deep and long, as if it was going to cut out the flesh on the fingers and palms. Have you always been so cruel to yourself? Su Qianqian took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in her heart. Is it because Hu Yang came that he is throwing a tantrum and going crazy? None of your business. Mian Tian pulled his wrist back indifferently, but his dark eyes stared at her darkly and persistently. If you really care about me, then don't look at other males with those eyes. Only look at me. Su Qianqian almost laughed out of anger. Miantian, the whole world does not revolve around you. I am not yours alone, and I do not belong to you. Why can't I look at other males? Aren't you afraid that I will kill them? Mian Tian's expression suddenly became a little crazy. His black eyes were dark and full of scarlet aura, which made people have no doubt about what he said. Su Qianqian's heart suddenly skipped a beat. The true strength of Mian Tian is still a mystery. If he really takes action, no one can stop him. She let out a long breath and decided to sit up and give the child some advice. However, as soon as she moved, Mian Tian's bloody right palm grabbed her shoulders again and pressed her firmly under him. Her back was pressed against the cold wooden floor, and the man on top of her was full of oppression, leaving her with no way to escape. Su Qianqian suddenly felt uneasy for no reason. However, Mian Tian continued to lean closer to her, and their faces were so close that Su Qianqian could clearly see his high nose bridge and his thick black eyelashes, neatly lined up like an ink fan. He raised his other clean left hand and gently stroked Su Qianqian's soft cheek with his cold, slender fingers and murmured, Do you know how jealous and hateful I am when I see you with other males?
Why?
Why can't you just look at me a little more? Is there something I did wrong, or do you hate me? He lowered his head and looked at her with slightly red eyes, revealing an indescribable sense of pity. His fingers moved down inch by inch, and suddenly pinched her jaw. He moved closer, staring at her soft and plump lips with deep eyes, as if he wanted to kiss her, moving closer little by little. However, just as their lips were about to touch, Su Qianqian suddenly broke free from his fingers and turned her head away. Miantian's kiss slid across her cheek, cold and without any warmth, like being entangled by a snake. But he was originally a snake. At this moment, Su Qianqian knew very clearly that all this was pretended by him. Being pitiful and weak were his usual disguises and tactics. After spending such a long time together, she probably already understood Miantian's personality. How could someone with such great strength be a poor little being bullied? He also understood her own character, knew that she was easily soft-hearted, and knew that he felt sorry for the trapped and suffering slaves. So, at the beginning he pretended to be a slave to win her sympathy. Of Miantian is a snake. A cunning and vicious snake. Familiar worry and concern in Su Qianqian's eyes, but instead a look of indifference. Miantian's face, which had been barely calm, suddenly turned gloomy. The dark jealousy that had been growing in him instantly turned into raging rage, burning up the last bit of rationality in his mind. He suddenly lowered his head and bit her neck hard.
Ah!
Su Qianqian cried out in pain. Miantian, are you crazy? She pushed hard against him, but the man on top of her was incredibly strong, and he pinned her to the ground with just one hand. Hearing her screams of pain, Miantian seemed to have taken some kind of stimulant. His eyes turned bloodshot, and he bit the delicate skin on her neck even harder. He bit hard and fiercely, as if he was venting his anger, dissatisfaction, and madness. Su Qianqian was in so much pain that she couldn't control herself. She felt a cold liquid flowing down her neck. It was blood. Miantian became even more excited after smelling the blood. He grabbed Su Qianqian's neck like a madman. He started by biting hard, then started to nibble and grind with his teeth, and finally held her with his lips and tongue, licking and sucking softly. He licked the blood off her neck bit by bit. The hot breath and the cold lips and tongue formed two completely different feelings, and Su Qianqian's body couldn't help but tremble. She subconsciously turned her head to look, only to see that Miantian's originally dark eyes had turned completely red as if stained with blood, and were full of possessiveness. The sky became brighter and bluer in the afternoon. The sunlight shone through the cumulus clouds, pouring down from the azure sky and landing on a few large trees not far away, making them look even greener and more lush. Su Qianqian took a look at it for 2 seconds and found it a little dazzling, so she looked away. She touched her neck, which still felt a slight sting. How she left Miantian's room. All that filled my mind were those crazy red eyes that had lost their minds, and the smell of blood that had not yet dissipated from the close contact. But it was not until she walked out of Miantian's room, stood in the daylight, and felt the warmth of the sun on her body that she felt as if she had escaped from a dark snake den and escaped death. Qianqian. Just at this moment, Hu Yang came running over, muttering, "You finally came out. If it weren't for Shi Yuan and the others stopping me, I would really like to go find you." As he said this, he subconsciously rushed towards her, but in the blink of an eye he saw the bite marks on her neck, and his face suddenly darkened. Did he do this? Did that guy bully you? His face was filled with anger, and he rolled up his sleeves and was about to go to Miantian's room. Su Qianqian saw this and quickly pulled him back. "No. I'm fine, Hu Yang, don't get excited." "How can I not be excited?" Hu Yang broke free from her hand and glared at the bright red bite mark on her neck with gritted teeth. "How dare he bite you? And he bit you so deep. I will never let him off." For this person, Hu Yang, who was at the top of his heart, he would be heartbroken even if she just scraped the skin off his finger, let alone such a deep wound. "I'm really fine." Fearing that he would really go to look for Miantian on impulse, Su Qianqian quickly hugged his arms tightly and tried her best to comfort him. "Hu Yang, be good, I'm really fine. Miantian just had a conflict with me. He bit me, but now he's calmed down. Let's not cause trouble for him. Just be obedient, okay? Miantian's strength, he can easily kill a 5th or 6th level ferocious beast. Hu Yang is only 4th level. Wouldn't it be simply courting death if he goes there?" Are you really okay?" Hu Yang was so delighted by Su Qianqian's gentle and soothing words that he finally managed to suppress his anger. But he couldn't help looking at the wound on her neck and asked worriedly, Well, besides biting you, did he do anything else to you?" "No." Su Qianqian shook her head. "Really?" Hu Yang looked at the wound on her neck suspiciously, then looked at Mian Tian's house in the distance. Really? Su Qianqian nodded without hesitation. To be honest, she didn't understand why Mian Tian suddenly stopped talking and let her go after biting her. She originally thought that there would be an argument or even a fight, but he said nothing, silently drove her out of the room, and closed the door tightly. Thinking of this, Su Qianqian couldn't help but touch the bite mark on her neck again. The wound was really deep, but not a drop of blood was left because he sucked and licked it all clean. She walked out of the room. She couldn't bear the pain anymore and used her wood ability to heal the wound. But it didn't work. Her wood-based ability was unable to heal wounds. Mian Tian's beast form is a snake. Could it be that his teeth contain some kind of poison that makes her wounds unable to be healed with wood-based abilities? The more Su Qianqian thought about it, the more uneasy she felt. Mian Tian is a man with too many secrets. He is very likely some dangerous big shot. It seems that we really can't let him stay in the tribe any longer. Just as he was thinking about it, Shi Yuan and a few others hurried over. Hey Huyang, stop pestering Sumo. Your sister and her friends finally came to the 10,000 Beasts tribe. You must take them on a tour. Shi Yuan stopped talking midway. Obviously, he also saw the bright red bite mark on Su Qianqian's neck. He was stunned for a moment, then exclaimed, "This was done by Mian Tian?" As he spoke, everyone's eyes were focused on Su Qianqian's neck. That. Mian Tian was throwing a tantrum, fearing that they might misunderstand her. Su Qianqian quickly covered the wound on her neck and explained hastily, "Don't misunderstand me. Nothing happened to us." Nan Wu frowned. He is a dog. How can he bite people randomly? That's right. Even Shi Yuan, who always loved to joke, had a serious look this time. It's okay to have fun and make noise, but I can't let you bleed or get hurt. Mian Tian has gone too far this time. Besides biting you, he didn't do anything to you, did he? At this time, Dou came over leading Xiaojiu. Su Qianqian couldn't help but frown when she saw this. Why did even the Great Witch ask this? Is there really something wrong with that guy Mian Tian? Seeing that Su Qianqian didn't say anything, the Great Wizard's face darkened slightly and suddenly asked, "Did he suck your blood?" Su Qianqian paused. "How do you know?" The Great Wizard looked at her deeply, but in the end said nothing. He just shook his head and sighed. In short, you have to be careful of him and don't get hurt or bleed in front of him. What does this mean? Why can't I get hurt and bleed in front of Mian Tian? The Great Witch's words left everyone confused. Su Qianqian thought about it and simply pulled the Great Wizard aside, pointed at the wound on her neck and said, "Great Wizard, you are very knowledgeable. Help me see if this wound is poisoned. I can't even heal it with my supernatural powers." The Great Wizard glanced at her and said expressionlessly, "It's not poisonous." After a pause, he added, "You can't cure him simply because his strength is far superior to yours." Su Qianqian didn't understand and said, "I know his strength is higher than mine, but my healing ability is not low either, so how can I not be able to cure him?" She had just drunk the Wanlingxian spring water not long ago, and her supernatural power was upgraded to the 6th level. The 6th level of healing power is not low at all. How could it be impossible that it could not even heal a small bite? Is there a possibility? He did it on purpose? The Great Witch looked at Su Qianqian helplessly, with an indescribable expression on his face. He deliberately didn't want you to heal this injury, and deliberately let others see the bite mark on your neck. Su Qianqian. Okay, she got it. I can't believe how sinister this guy Mian Tian is, and how strong his possessiveness is. After such a commotion, Su Qianqian was completely out of temper. She didn't dare to go to Mian Tian to settle the score. She could only find a silk scarf from her storage ring and silently wrapped it around her neck. When Nan Wu saw the silk scarf around her neck, his eyes lit up immediately. "Chief Su, what kind of animal skin is this? It looks so light, thin, and soft." Su Qianqian said, "This is not animal skin, but a kind of silk woven from silk." "Silk?" Shi Yuan came closer. "What is that? Can you eat it?" "He talks about food all the time." Su Qianqian smiled and said, Silk is a continuous long fiber formed by the silk fluid secreted by mature silkworms when they make cocoons. Like wool, it is also an animal fiber. The two did not understand and kept scratching their heads. What is animal fiber? At this time, Shifang also came over, staring at the silk scarf on Su Qianqian's neck and asked, "Why does this silk scarf you are talking about look a bit like shark silk?" Shark silk? This time it was Su Qianqian's turn to be stunned. Shifang explained, "The mermaid gauze is a precious item from the eastern sea of the Beast World continent. It is only found in the mermaid tribe. Legend has it that this mermaid gauze is like gauze, thin, transparent, soft and smooth, and does not get wet in water. It is a treasure of the mermaid tribe." Hearing this, Su Qianqian's eyes lit up instantly. This mermaid gauze sounds like a treasure. If it is sold to the plain trading system, it must be very valuable. It seems that she must go to the eastern waters when she has time in the future. However, I see that the silk scarf that Chief Su is wearing is also very thin and soft. Its value is definitely not less than the mermaid's silk gauze used by the mermaids. Nan Wu said thoughtfully. That's right. That's right. Shi Yuan also said, "Hey, Sumo, where can we get those mature silkworms you mentioned? Can we raise them? Why don't we raise some, and then we can produce the silk scarves you mentioned?" That's a good idea. Su Qianqian thought about it and nodded. In this beast world, the clothes that orcs wear on a daily basis are all made of various animal skins and furs. If their beast tribe can produce cloth or other silk fabrics and make a variety of cloth clothes, they will definitely be very popular. Cloth weaving are generally hemp, silk, cotton, etc., which are also easy to obtain. If you want to get hemp, you can plant ramie. Silk can be obtained by raising silkworms. As for cotton, just plant cotton and ramie seeds through the plain trading system. As long as the water and fertilizer in the field are properly managed, a batch can mature in 3 or 4 months. As for raising silkworms, this requires planting a large number of mulberry trees in advance. Mulberry leaves are the main food source for silkworms. If you plant mulberry trees this year and they grow tender leaves next year, you can raise silkworms. Was thinking, her group had already arrived at the open space circled by the Wanshou tribe. This open space is specially used for farming, and at this moment many orcs are plowing the land with the newly made plowshares. However, they were not used to this new thing and used it clumsily. It took them a whole morning to plow out a small piece of land. Su Qianqian was about to step forward to help guide them, but Huyang pulled her back. "You want them to use this thing to plow the land?"
Su Qianqian nodded.
After all, there are no advanced farming machines in this era. Even if she buys one from the plain system, the orcs will not use it. It is better to develop step by step and use the most primitive farming tools to plow the land first so that everyone can adapt to it. Too slow. At this rate, when will you be able to finish plowing this large piece of land you have planned? Let me help you. As Huyang spoke, he took a step forward, half knelt down, and gently placed his slender, white hand on the ground. A powerful earth-based power burst out from him. The next second, the entire ground in front of him began to shake slightly. Seeing this, the orcs standing on the ground retreated one after another. He saw that the originally flat land was turned over by a huge force, and several neat furrows spread out from under his feet. The soil became loose and soft, very suitable for the growth of crops, as if it had been plowed by the best modern agricultural machinery. Orcs who were in charge of plowing the fields were stunned. Su Qianqian was also surprised when she saw this scene. This earth-related ability is too powerful. She is definitely an excellent farmer. "Qianqian, do you think this is okay?" Huyang stood up and immediately came forward to take credit. Yes.
Su Qianqian nodded repeatedly.
That was absolutely great. Find a time in the future to lure Huyang into the realm stone space and ask him to help plow the land. In her realm stone space, she was originally worried about whether she should go to the modern plane to buy a plowing machine. But now it seems that it is not necessary. Once Huyang's earth-related ability is released, he can plow the land faster and better than any other machine. Hearing Su Qianqian praising him like that, Huyang immediately felt proud and raised his chin slightly towards Shi Yuan and the others. But in a flash, he came over again, rubbing against Su Qianqian enthusiastically, and said coquettishly, Qianqian, you see I did such a good job. Is there any reward? Of course. What reward do you want? Su Qianqian smiled and rubbed the pair of tiger ears on his head. The furry tiger ears trembled shyly, and Huyan lowered his head slightly and said, As for this, I haven't thought about it yet. I'll tell you when I think about it. Okay. Su Qianqian nodded with a smile, not caring too much, but turned around and told the Nanwu people, Go prepare some fine mud and wood ash. Okay? Nanwu and his men agreed, put down their plowing tools, and went to prepare. Rami is a perennial herb that can be planted all year round. It has a strong adaptability to soil, but the most suitable soil is deep, loose, fertile, and well-drained sandy soil. Su Qianqian picked a suitable piece of land and opened the plain trading system to start buying Rami seeds. The main methods of propagation of Rami are seed propagation and cutting propagation. Su Qianqian decided to